Hey there, goblins. Welcome to Goblin Salvage Rights,
where we salvage rights for goblins.
My name's Robert.
I'm Eric.
And today we're talking about a brand new book. Just hit the shelves.
Did it?
I don't know. Actually, did it? Actually,
I don't know. I just read the PDF, so physical books aren't a thing anymore.
Oh, go. Listen.
Sorry, I was trying to be like the youngins out there.
If I can get my grubby little fingers on a new book via PDF or otherwise, and it's ahead of time, baby, we're taking it. We're talking about Rival Academies today.
Lost Omens Rival Academies.
It's a
skinny mini.
It's I don't know. It doesn't feel too skinny.
It doesn't. That's part of my joy with
thick
it.
As fuck, boys.
They packed the shit out of this book.
Yeah, so
with different kinds of content too.
Rival Academies is a Lost Omens book where, if you're not familiar, Lost Omens books are where they take the story and they take the crunch and they shove them together.
It's these skinny little bastards right here.
Yeah, but sometimes they don't end up. They get thicker or thinner as you go. This one's like 100.
Kind of like me over my adult life.
This one's like 150 pages, I think, actually.
Okay.
And it's basically their take on remastering the schools of magic because they yeeted the classic schools of magic during the remaster, and they finally came out with a book that really plays with this concept of literal schools of knowledge and magic.
Yep, because they watched a lot of Harry Potter one day and decided that the good folks at the University of Lepidstadt need to be Slytherin.
Yo, if you want, dude. All right, we'll get into that. We'll get into that.
We will get into that.
Well, it's like
for better or worse.
Honestly, it's like a Harry Potter. What do they call those? Cuckoo dolls? The Russian
dolls,
nested dolls. Because it's like the Magambia is inside of this conglomerate of other conglomerates of conglomerates, and you're like, how deep does this go? This is like some school Inception. So anyway, we're doing our first reactions, kind of like a review, if you will, of the book. We've only had the book We've only had the book for maybe a week and a half, maybe tops. And we live busy lives, so we've done our best to read it.
Yes.
Have we read every single sentence? Probably not.
Nope.
But before we jump into the topic, we got to thank a patron.
I want to be gracious right now because the world is kind of ungracious at the moment, and we should take a moment to be gracious.
Absolutely.
We have a patron we would like to thank.
Arden
Atwer.
I'm not gonna.
I'm bad at pronunciation for goblin names,
pronounce.
But Arden, you're a fine green gentleman of small stature, but you are huge in our hearts.
Thank you, Goblin. Welcome to the tribe. We just posted our newest thaumaturge to the Patreon.
Yep.
Pretty hype.
That's like a 8-page PDF now of content.
Yep. We've got 3 new implements and a whole backstory about a city on the moon.
Yep.
It's
moon hags and space dragons.
Fucking crazy.
Yep.
This month's Patreon, we're talking about the next Patreon that's coming up, we're going to be talking about the
summoner,
iconic summoner. I'm going to be doing some crazy Eidolon shenanigans. It's going to be good. Yep. And the biome is swamp. This is my swamp. So yeah, pretty hype on that.
No witches here.
No just witches summoners. Here. Just summoners. We're throwing curveballs. Ball curving. Now, Eric.
Robert.
Did you play anything in between our last?
I don't think so. I've got one coming up this weekend.
Sick.
Yeah. That's my story. Good story, bro.
Well, apparently my game was so boring, Eric forgot it because he did just play in my
Kingmaker. I'm so sorry. I'm such an asshole. I'm so selfish. I got Edgewalkers on the brain.
No,
we did cool. Kingmaker, and it was amazing. We did more dungeon crawling, which is good. Because I think we've done 2 or 3 sessions of dungeon crawling back to back, and that's really where your heart is.
I feel like
that's where your enthusiasm is, which is infectious.
You guys are getting a swing of
things. Like the clap. Yes.
Literally.
Yeah.
Cutting heads off. Taking down trolls.
Using strategery.
We did a haunt, and our new player, Austin, was like really... I think he role-played it really well.
Yeah. Like I'm really enjoying having him at the table.
Yeah,
so If you're watching, Austin, we like you.
He's not. Are you watching?
Fuck you, Austin.
He'll take that one stride. He'll take that one with stride. So yeah, and how's your play-by-post going?
Play-by-post is going really well.
Oh, good. That's good.
Yeah. We it's winter. You know how winter is with this particular hobby. So everybody's super quiet on the Discord, which means I have room to be noisy.
Hell yeah, dude.
So I'll do these 100 to 200 word posts sometimes. And then like a week later, I'll get like a 3-line response or something. And I'll kind of look around. Nobody else says anything. So I'll do another one.
Hell yeah.
And just trying to keep that ball rolling, giving everybody else a chance to catch their breath in their lives because everybody in our group is going through some kind of shit right now.
Totally.
Myself included.
Yeah.
So this is it's been really cool. I think I told you before, this is Rise of the Rune Lords, and I designed my character to interact specifically and be tied to the NPCs in the first book.
Totally.
So all the NPC drama, like a soap opera set in Varizia, my character's like right in the middle of all that shit. So it's really cool to be in the spotlight and carry the word count at the same time. If it was somebody else's spotlight and I was doing the word count, I would start feeling bad and guilty. So that's one of the ways I approach being a player at the table, knowing when to chew up the scenery and knowing when to shut the fuck up and let somebody else do some talking.
Absolutely.
Like right now, for instance. So where do we go from here?
I think we should jump right into the topic.
All right. Because it's a small book with a lot to say.
You keep calling it small, but man,
it's like 128 pages or something like that. These are not large books.
Okay, well, some of us read slowly, and 128 pages is rather intimidating.
Well, fortunately, there's lots of pictures.
You're right. It is really pretty. It is actually like...
they're small.
It's 128. It's 128 pages. All right, you got me.
It's almost like I used to do this for a living.
All right. So, Rival Academies is... It's a book packed with things we thought it was. A lot of us had expectations going into this book that were...
A lot of you in Goblin Town said what you thought was going to be in it.
And those expectations were not met.
They were not met.
But
others were that I didn't have at all.
Exactly.
So one of the things I like about this entire Lost Omens product line is you can tell that Paizo is learning as they go. Each time they put out one of those little books, it gets progressively more and more of its own identity. So for example, not the Ancestry Guide, the other one, the World Guide. It's basically a 128-page gazetteer of different areas. And I think there might even be an archetype or something like that, just like something almost throwaway in there. Just a tiny bit of crunch for, you crunch nerds out there.
Right.
And, then as the books progress, they start increasing the page count that's devoted to crunch, which is fine. It's great. I'm a story guy, but I'll take some crunch as long as it has something to do with the story. And back then, sometimes it did, sometimes it didn't. The quality of the crunch didn't quite mesh all the time with the quality of the story. But this fucking book that you just put in my lap, this PDF that you put in my box.
Your digital lap.
My digital lap. It's like they took the lessons they learned from Legends, where they gave you an NPC, they gave you a deep background, and they gave you a very super specific piece of crunch where if you interact with that NPC, they can teach you this thing. And they gave it the rare tag. Why? Because there's one person on the fucking planet who can teach you this thing. All the NPCs have something like that that's intrinsic to their story, how they present in this narrative.
I will say they did a really good job of varying the rare tag and the uncommon tag.
Yeah, I thought it was all rare until about halfway through the book when I started seeing uncommon.
Yeah, it's pretty well balanced, I'd say.
Yeah. So it's like this book is a combination of legends as far as the NPCs and the individual crunch specific to the NPCs. It's also got the character guide options in there for like ancestries and obviously archetypes we're going to get into.
Right.
It's got what they learned from the Pathfinder Society Guide in terms of different factions and how they interact and think about each other.
I fucking love that book. Can I just say that, like, Pathfinder Society Guide is rad.
Yeah.
It's the most versatile archetype there ever was, because they were just like one archetype,
if there's going to be one to
different
explain it
ways
all.
to play it. It's so cool.
Apropos for sure.
Yeah.
And then a character guide, if I didn't already say that. So it's almost like they took 3 or 4 of the previous titles in the LO line and they just slammed it into one 128-page volume.
Yeah.
And it shows. And the artwork doesn't suck.
Oh, no, the artwork. Okay, the artwork. Let's just get this out of the way.
Not that the previous artwork sucked.
The
this
artwork
is just really good.
Is wild. The artwork is
so good.
All over the place.
It feels like every time we talk about a new book, we're like, the artwork is so good.
Yeah.
And it is, because it keeps getting better.
And
weirder.
Weirder.
There's an emu with a 3-piece suit.
The emu.
That's my favorite piece of art in this whole book.
And it's
emu
got
3-piece suit.
Slicked back hair.
Yeah.
Whole 9 yards.
Emu.
I couldn't. There's the snake man at the end.
The Naga?
The Naga.
Oh, the Naga was cool. And what they did with the, dancing magic. Oh, my God.
It's cringe. It's cringe. The Naga is like, okay, the naga is appropriate to the proportions of a naga.
Okay, but
and nagas look fucking weird.
Yeah, they changed the nagas for remastered.
Right. It's just like the head is way bigger than you expect it to, and without any
bobblehead quality to it.
Without any reference images, you're like, wait, how big is this thing?
Wait, are you a Simpson?
And then you look it up and you're like, this is a large creature? What the fuck?
Yeah, put it next to a tree at least.
It's a large creature. Half of its body is its head. Mm-hmm. How does it not fall over all the time?
Magic.
Yeah. 94.9, soft and contemporary. Yeah. So anyway, that's the little art debacle.
Yeah, so there's people, there's creatures, there's ancestries,
Yes.
there's spells, there's feats, there's archetypes.
Awakened animals.
The only thing it doesn't have is a fucking class. It's got like new familiars.
It's got a class archetype.
It's got a class archetype.
That's
so
about as close as you can get in a Lost
128
Omens
pages. You did not have this before. Mm-hmm. And it's got the quality, and I can't stress this enough. Monsters of Myth and Legends are the two best books in that line. Oh no, you need more beer.
Oh no, I can't. It's so thick. The glass is so thick. I can't tell if there's something in it.
Gotcha.
You're good. Keep going.
Yeah, Monsters of Myth and Legends are the two best books in the LO series. You know, discounting like Impossible Lands and the actual like location-based books, because they're basically the movers and shakers. They're the MVPs of the setting. You know, the people who where they speak. You know, all the local news channels kind of show up to stick a camera in their face.
Right.
And it's a big deal. If you want to know the trajectory of the story of Pathfinder over the last 10 years, you look at these figures and they fucking threw them in there. Well, they did it for this book in an arcane context, in a primal context, in an occult context, and a little bit of divine, in an elemental context.
These aren't just like nerds.
Yeah, these are power players in their respective fields. These are like, it's like a fucking... ancient Greece, that painting that has Plato, Socrates, Euripides, and just all the playwrights and philosophers of the ancient.
All right,
and
some of us aren't as cultured as you, Eric.
Yeah. No, but it's like wow, they're all fucking there.
Right.
In this book, they're all fucking there.
Yeah.
There's a giant elephant from the first world, kind of just parks its ass down in the middle of this convocation with a castle on its back and an entire Fey school on its back.
Yeah.
It's weird as shit, and I love it. I'm here for it.
It's weird as shit, and I love it. That's the best way to put it. So I think we need to answer a simple question. We tried to answer this question last time we did this kind of episode, which is the last episode we did for NPC Core.
That was too long ago.
Would you buy this book?
I would buy this book, and if I had the income, I would buy it for my players. If we were in some sort, this is a good gifting book for somebody who is setting positive.
Right. So
maybe even crunch positive. I think this is almost more valuable for GMs than it is for players, which is a stupid statement on its face because the Lost Omens series is basically a GM series. But
I think that's changing though.
I think so too.
Yeah,
And I think that's one of the lessons they're learning too.
Yeah, exactly.
I think there's just a whole bunch of crunch in there that will never see a character sheet. But you can spit that shit out for really fun moments as a GM. Mm-hmm. And I've got a bunch of examples here we'll get into.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I'm positive about it, not because I'm a fanboy, although I am, but I've read all of the books up until now, and I can just see their trajectory. They're just getting better and better, and they're learning from mistakes, and they're listening to those of us who are screaming from the bleachers.
Right.
And that's just really heartening in this day and age, where the alternative seems to be fucking Hasbro and Dungeons and Dragons.
God.
I'm really optimistic. And
this is a
book affirms it.
Print edition is $45.
Okay.
And that's only $5 more than Lost Omens Knights of Last Wall, which is like kind of a recent book.
Last Wall is so niche, you'll never see it in a game unless somebody's specifically playing that.
That's true. My point though is like this is a book that was published last year.
Dollars for pages.
You know what I mean? This was published last year. Mm-hmm. So, inflation, prices are going up, blah, blah, blah. $45 is, I think, a really good deal when you look at NPC Core. That was like $80. Yeah. I wouldn't have paid for NPC Core. Mm-hmm. I'm fucking paying for Rival Academies.
It's also double or triple the page count.
Exactly. Well, sure. Okay, Dad. Sure.
I mean, but it's only $20 more for 300% more material or something like that. But anyway. I feel your pain.
You know what I'm saying?
There's sort of like a knee-jerk reaction like, oh my God, $45 for that? That's so small. Mm-hmm. It's really not.
It's dense.
Yeah, like each
dense,
page
boys.
Earns its keep.
Absolutely. Yeah. So let's jump into some of these options. We asked our Discord, what do you want to see? Oh, by the way, we have a Discord. Check it out. It's in the doobly-doo.
Yep, Goblin Town. Come on down.
We have lots of goblins, over 100 goblins.
The bog water is nice.
It's pretty nad. It's pretty nad, pretty rad, pretty natural.
It's pretty full of nads.
Pretty full. It is full of nads. So we asked the goblins, like, hey, what do you want us to talk about in this review, first impressions video?
Do our jobs for us, goddammit.
And no, it's more like, hey, what do you want?
Oh, okay.
What do you want us to talk? We only have an hour and a half.
Yeah.
What do you want us to put in an hour and a
I was talking
half?
to Austin right there.
Yeah. Austin, do your job.
Fuck you twice.
Anyway, they basically asked.
I'm really looking forward to Kingmaker.
I want the rules. He's never gonna watch this.
Probably for the best.
Eyes.
Maybe 5 years from now.
So they basically said, show us the rules for making your own
School of Magic.
School of Magic, and tell us about the player options.
Yep.
And
I mean, that's kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah,
That's
and
what I
I mean, so that's what I focused on. The first question, you want to talk about it? You want to jump into it because it's really easy to answer.
Okay, sure. It didn't happen.
Womp, womp, womp.
And I think the reason why it didn't happen is they actually they didn't talk about it, they showed it. So we had many examples, like 6, I think, of actual schools with actual spell lists that were curated towards the actual theme, which they laid out and then drew pictures of, and this and that and this and that.
Okay.
So they showed rather than told.
There are
and that's
only
not enough, I think.
There are only
for our
3. There's only 3 examples of schools. Like, so you get 3 new. Okay, that's not true. You get. Okay, there are 6 schools in the book. Like, thematically speaking, there are 6 schools that come to this place. So the whole story in the book is basically the World Wound.
There's representatives of like a dozen more, but 6 core. They're called patron schools.
Yeah. There's 6 major schools around the world that all send representatives
The Ivy Leagues.
to this bastion at the edge of the World Wound after it's been sealed.
Yeah.
Spoilers and
That one's 10 years old.
yeah, well, you know,
They've made a video game.
they did, and it's very good. So basically, you'd expect that we'd get at least 6 wizard schools, 1 from each academy.
Right.
That would make sense. Well, one of them's a bard academy, so fuck you.
No, that was necessary because we don't really have that kind of representation elsewhere in Pathfinder products.
No, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying, like,
I misread your fuck you.
yeah. So it's like like that doesn't make any sense, you idiots, in your expectations. I'm the idiot in this scenario.
Oh, good. Thanks for clarifying.
So, so the point is like, you know, we've got some Fey schools. We've got which come with a new witch patron and stuff like that.
yeah, each
we've
school kind of represents 2 classes.
I didn't
if you go
pick
all
up
the way
on
to
that.
the end of the book, there's
Okay.
a table that actually breaks it down.
Oh, he got me with the table, bro.
Hey, man, evidence.
He got me
I
with
know
the
you're an
table.
evidence-based guy.
That's true. I do like evidence.
Go ahead and name the school, and I will read it out.
Sick.
Motherfucker,
Oh, we're
did I
gonna do
not get the table.
I'm gonna do a quick Robert's
It's at the
description.
very, very end, just before the glossary.
I'm going to do a quick Robert's description of each of these schools. Academy of the Reclamation. So this is basically like...
They are Ranger Rogues. I forget what it was. It was Ranger and something.
Okay, they're basically like... They're themed after like the I think they're called the Inuit people of like the northern of North America. They're basically like the native people of like Alaska and stuff like that. At least that's what the theming screams to me.
Okay.
And they have like very druidic magic that's also tied with like fighting demons because they're the closest to the World Wound.
Right.
So I think they're actually kind of the ones hosting this party.
Can you skip to the part of the book just shy of the glossary with the table?
He can't find it.
Oh, no.
He can't. Wait, what?
I thought you had the document here.
I have it on my phone because my old laptop
Glossary?
can't. Okay.
Is that the glossary?
I can get to the glossary.
Get to the glossary. Keep talking, get to the glossary, and I'll find it.
Well, I was talking about
important.
the rival academies. So we've got Academy of Reclamation. Kobe.
Oh, fuck you. I've got it right here. Okay, keep going.
We've got Kobe Slarney.
Kobe Slarney.
Kobe Slarney.
That's the name of the elephant.
Yeah.
That is the headmaster.
So imagine a god-like being who is a three-eyed elephant.
Ranger Wizards.
Ranger Wizards,
That is the Academy of Reclamation.
Yeah, there you go.
Their feats, their items, their special things in that section, they closely resemble thematically Rangers and Wizards.
There you go. And that's where one of our first wizard schools come from, one of the wizard school entries. We have Kobe Slarney.
Kobe Slarney, and you have to say it that way. It's the new rules. This is Druid and Witch.
Yeah, and we get a new witch patron, which is pretty fucking rad.
That was pretty cool, wasn't it? Yeah,
I will talk about the witch patron in a little bit of detail.
I know you will.
It is very good.
Let's make sure we talk about the familiars and the greater witch lessons when we get there.
The Kythedorian Academy.
Kytherodian. Yep. Bards and rogues.
They're the fucking. They're thespians. Yep.
They're CIA thespians.
CIA thespians, which is really just thespians.
Really
let's be honest. The CIA is literally just full of thespians. I'm just telling you, thespians and just like cold hard killers.
But how do they reproduce? Moving on.
The Mongambia,
Druid Wizards,
which we
These
already
are my
know.
favorite.
Yeah, we already know a lot about because they have their own.
I don't think people really do.
Frickin' book. They have their own Lost Omens book. How do you not know about them? They have an entire
I think
adventure
people
path.
know about them, but they don't understand why they're special.
Right.
In the realm of D20 family games,
they're like Turbo Hogwarts in Africa.
They blend primal and arcane magics to create blended magics.
And they did that in an era of
I
like
don't think anything else does that.
TTRPGs where that was like, say what?
Yeah. It's really cool stuff. And we'll get into that because I got a lot to say there.
We've got the Monastery of Unbreaking Waves.
They are magus and monks.
Yes.
I was surprised by the magus connection. Fully expected the monks because, no brainer. But the magus stuff was, I don't know how crunchy cool it was, but I saw some really fucking cool concepts that I want to talk about.
I'm very hype about everything in that section.
Okay, good.
It is kind of your like general Eastern country theme. But to me, it read it read super like almost like South India almost.
Yeah, and they come out of the
Coastal
heritage
India.
of colonialism.
Yeah.
That got pushed the fuck back by
Coastal
the
India,
Mongolians.
anyone?
Yeah.
The story of India.
Come back.
And then the University of Leptistat.
I'm sorry, did you say Slytherin?
The University of Leptistat.
These guys are supposed to be, I believe, inventors and fucking
nerds.
Alchemist and investigator
Yeah.
are the combo.
Investigator?
That's what it said, yeah.
That's dumb. It's alchemist and inventor. Come on.
I'll be honest, I didn't read this one as deeply as the others because it felt so...
Are you sure you're not misreading that? Is it investigator?
No, I had to read it 3 times because I thought I was misreading it. I thought, yeah. I had the same thought, and I don't know if they were just going for extra representation because it's the alchemy because of the items,
right?
And
alchemist is a no-brainer.
Yeah. And the investigation is the intelligence-based interrogation of magic that they were leaning on. That's the impression I got. And when you look at like the spells and stuff like that,
we can all agree investigator isn't a real class. All right.
I'm on board.
If you could Thanos snap one, that should be a video. If you could Thanos snap one class away, what would it be? It'd be a short video though.
Yeah, fake feats. They're not trap feats anymore. They're fake feats.
They're fake feats. So University of Leptistat is like
Mary Shelley's Frankenstein.
Yeah, but it's in Yugoslavia, right?
Yugoslavia. You're close.
Yugoslavia.
It's a different world on a totally different continent.
Absolutely.
But you're almost there.
So Ustalav basically has a university and has got a bunch of like Frankenstein fuckers.
Yeah, Hammer films, werewolves, golems, shit like
honestly,
that.
it's fucking rad.
It's great. I'm a Ravenloft fanboy, so
and like
my heart's here.
That part, like the Frankenstein section of that part of fantasy isn't really represented in a lot of rule books. It hasn't been for a very long time.
For Pathfinder 2nd edition?
No, just for Pathfinder in general.
Well, there was an entire adventure path, and then they had the occult book, and then they had the horror book. So there was a lot of representation for Ustalavian stuff.
No, but specifically for the Frankenstein like story. There was not a lot of player options for that. I can think of
player options.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. I can think of literally one archetype that you could force into the Frankenstein kind of like
mad scientist,
character.
grab a saw and start grabbing body parts.
Yeah, of course. There's like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, which I think is very closely related to
Necromancers have
it.
typically kind of absorbed that particular role.
Exactly.
But it's not the same.
So I like seeing it here, especially with their focus on lightning.
Yeah, especially with all the fucking angst in here. There's each one of these schools has a section at the end of it called like rivalries or rival academies, and where they basically shit talk other schools.
Yeah.
And it's
pretty great.
It's delightfully, when I talk about my mind movies and I try to find the so-called realism in fantasy-based gaming, I'm not looking for like, laws of physics. That's not the kind of the realisms I'm looking for. I'm looking for cause and effect. And people have super fucking predictable cause and effect. And you see that in spades in here, the way these different schools shit talk each other. And when you read into the history of these schools, how they interact with the present day stuff going on their land masses, it makes perfect sense why they're shit talking each other.
It does.
It's almost like this Gestalt experience where you add 1, 2, and 3 and you get 9 by the time you're done absorbing it all. It's just brilliantly done.
And of
I'm gonna
course,
stop gushing now.
they put the Thessalonian School of Magic
Wasn't that cool?
right at the end.
Everybody was
baby.
shit talking these guys. They're like, if they ever fucking show up.
Yeah.
They're not even here yet. We don't even know if they're gonna show up. And then like 3/4 of the way through the book, they show up.
They're not
So
even real.
This fake wizards.
Fake wizards.
Fake fighters.
Fake fighters.
This book was a really cool sort of like, it was a narrative in 128 pages. They're like, here's some crunch options. Here's a gazetteer on what's going on in this landmass. The things that you typically expect that are like dry histories and glossaries and indexes and kind of stuff. But in here, there's like letters and there's conversations between people. And they keep shit talking these fucking Thessalonian wizards. And then they show up.
You know how you shit talk the writing for War of the Immortals?
I may have remembered that.
I think the writers listened to our video and did better.
I don't know that they do, but I'm listening. I will entertain this supposition.
Because like the way in which the lore was presented was from a storyteller's perspective.
Yes.
But it was an individual person flying around asking questions.
Sure.
In this, we get a much better representation of character and the world by having individual people quibble about each other the whole time. And that's so much more relatable than like Birdman asking questions on the street.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Instead of sort of like this epic narrative, you had slice of life narratives from different perspectives.
And of course, like, if you're trying to tell War of the Immortals and you've got two classes in there, like...
You showcase them all the way through.
Yeah, exactly. You want to do some heavy lifting, but at the same time, I think they did a really good job with this book.
I do,
especially
too.
with the narrative section of it.
Both books had their own distinct personality, but there's a multiplicity of personalities in this one. You're just more bang for your buck.
$20 words.
128 pages. 6 wizard schools, and like more than a dozen of minor wizard schools where like one single individual from those schools show up.
Fucking Geb, dude. The Geb at the end.
Gebite?
I was so happy for that. The Gebite.
That was cool. And the people who don't show up,
Yeah.
for those of us, lore nerds, and we're like, of course they're going to show up, specific individuals. And there were a couple of moments in this book where they're like, yeah, no, I'm here because, the guy you were expecting couldn't be here. That kind of stuff. Like I think Jatinbo from the Mongambian Academy, I fully expected him to be in this book. And instead, there was somebody else who showed up and he's like, he sends us best regards, but he couldn't make it. He's busy.
Emu Man.
You get me instead. And the fucking 3-piece suit emu.
Dude, those are different schools, but I just,
Yeah. That's Kobe Slarney.
Kobe Slarney.
And the feather item.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that was rad.
So how do you want to cut this up? Because I've got basically every single, I've got the book on my phone because my phone is more powerful than my laptop. And I've got my Notion page in front of me with all my notes. The notes are on class options because this book is so dense. That I couldn't get to everything.
Has been pretty shitty, so I'm good for interrupting you from time to time. Why don't you start wherever you want to start, and then I'll just jump in with stuff.
Excellent. All right, so we're going to talk about the first wizard school, Academy of the Reclamation.
Okay.
They have a archetype called the Campfire Chronicler.
Campfire Chronicler. These words are important because they chose them carefully to let you sort of like extrapolate from there to get the bigger idea. So
and also alliterations,
Rangers, wizards, campfire, and chronicler.
Alliterations are cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I used one today to describe a. God damn it! What did I call it? a culture of casual cruelty at work.
A culture of casual cruelty.
Yeah.
That honestly sounds like a fucking
It was overly
a
illiterate,
90s band.
Yeah.
Like a British 90s band. You know what I'm talking about?
Oi, we're casual cruelty.
Yeah.
And we're here to fuck
Culture
your
of
mother
casual cruelty.
through the eyeball.
Right.
I'll say
That's
again,
not how they
oi.
sound. All right.
All British people sound like this.
Exactly. Okay. So the Campfire Chronicler is a really interesting buffing archetype.
Okay.
The core ability you get at with the dedication feat, basically you spend a single action. You tell someone a story in one action, which is like 1/6 of 6 seconds, which is 2 seconds, which is insane, but mind movie.
I've
movie.
I've got thoughts.
Mind movie.
Continue.
Single action, and basically you tell someone a story. You get a +1 bonus to your AC. I think it's a status bonus, as well as a +1 bonus to will saves.
And you will know that my name is the Lord. I think we have examples of this in popular culture.
Exactly.
Yeah. Samuel L. Jackson was this.
And then a Campfire Chronicler. Interesting.
Think about it.
Interesting. All right. And then the other person on their turn can spend an action and get the same bonuses that you just got. Now, I think this is a really interesting idea. I don't know about the action economy and how it actually fits. I'd have to actually play test it to see how it feels on the table.
Yep.
But it's a good way to offer a player something to do with that third action.
Yep.
We could have a whole video on titled "What to Do with Your Third Action."
I think we should, because doing the optimal thing is rarely doing the fun thing in my experience with this particular system.
And if I can give you fun things to do with your third action
that do something meaningful,
bro,
that's it.
We've arrived. Yeah. And by the way, Goblins, if you're looking for the secret, just in a nutshell, the Kurzgesagt is basically your third action is actually your first action. Yeah. Whatever your third action is, just think ahead. That should probably be the first thing you do in your turn, and then the other two things are the things you already know what you want to do, like move and strike.
So within the Academy of the Reclamation, again, Rangers and Wizards, there's a Campfire Chronicler, and he has one of my favorite lines in the book, and he says he's shit-talking to Colby Slarney at this point.
Colby Slarney.
The Colby Slarney. And he says, so far we've been happy to adjust the time of various events to make up for their ideas about timeliness. But if one more of them tells me that the loss of Sarkoris is just a fleeting moment in the span of the universe, I may in fact scream. That was so flavorful and apropos. And the tragedy of the Sarkoran scar, it was their Holocaust.
Yeah.
And here these fucking Fae are coming in from the North World going, he, I'm a Fae. Oh, that was really too bad what happened to you. But, you'll get over it. What?
What?
It's
what indeed?
I want to see that play out at the table. Okay, continue.
So you get access to a couple domains through a 4th level and 8th level feat, which is very good. Like to see that. Domains are powerful depending on which one you choose. They're kind of all over the place, TBH. It's important to note something I noticed in the writing specifically. So the technical way they describe abilities and stuff is important. It's important to note that some of the feats that augment the offer a story action, which is their key action,
sure,
some of them replace the AC buff and the will buff. Others do not specifically state it gets replaced. Meaning there's an 8th level feat that when you tell a story, you also just get concealment from everything.
Yeah, and
that's OP.
It feels like it, and I think that's going to be an errata. I think that was an oversight.
I think it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
I also wonder why this particular fucking ability wasn't in the Mongambia.
+1 AC, +1 will saves, and concealment. And also, if you're, for one action, uno action,
right,
no save, there's no probability it may or may not happen. It happens.
Right.
And the person you target can also spend one action on their turn to get that. That's very good.
It feels like something they're going to revisit.
It's very good.
And until they do, all character sheets will have it.
I don't know about that, but it's very good. I would have a bard who also is a Campfire Chronicler. Bruh.
Yeah.
That is a buffing machine.
So in the spirit of shit talking, when our guy from the I've got Holy Reclamation on the brain, the Academy of the Reclamation, Ranger Wizards,
right,
he starts talking about the Kithrodian students, and these are the Bard spy masters from the Empire of Talden. Don't get me wrong, I appreciate that the Kithrodian students don't want to spread misinformation, but sometimes you want to enjoy yourself, not be stared at while you relive trauma as someone copies down everything you say and tells you that's perfect in the process.
Oh my God.
I can't wait to get to the Kithrodian part of this conversation because they are fucking tone deaf as fuck. And
let's jump into it because Kithrodian actor is definitely an archetype.
Spiced Demonade is the item I wanted to highlight from this particular school.
I didn't have the time.
There's so much
to go
we had to pick and choose.
Over every item.
I just picked one from each group just so I could talk.
Goblins. There are so many items. Goblins. There are so many fucking items in this book. It drives me crazy. The Kithronian people, I don't know.
Every time you say that name, it's going to be different.
Kithronian, I don't fucking know. They have some items. They have some non-magical items. They've got blood squibs. It's crazy.
It's fucking rad. And,
so
and
anyway,
they're supposed to. That's kind of their jam. You know?
I couldn't have read over every and given you my opinion on every single item because that would melt my brain.
Yeah.
Especially in a week.
So before we leave the Academy of the Reclamation, there's an item they have access to called, it's a second level item. It's Spiced Demonade, like lemonade, but with demon blood, ichor, I don't know.
Totally.
Whatever.
They're demon fighters.
Rare, alchemical, consumable, elixir, blah, blah, blah. For one action, there are some who claim the original version of this tart red drink contained the ground skin of actual demons. But in truth, Spiced Demonade was created by a first-year Academy student desperate to look awake and alert after a night of carousing. After consuming Spiced Demonade, you ignore all effects and penalties from the consumption of alcohol and lack of sleep for 1 hour. These effects resume when the Spiced Demonade wears off, and you become temporarily immune to Spiced Demonade for 24 hours. So, if you're fatigued, because you're drunk, and the NPCs or the bad guys or the monsters try to leverage that, and you down this leading into that, you just flipped that encounter you're walking into. You leveraged a really cool RP moment that is so fucking cliche in this hobby. I go to a bar. I try to fuck all the girls. That's kind of like that's our low hanging fruit.
Every nerd's dream.
Yeah, right. That's why we roll dice. But the idea of like doing that only to be like, ha, gotcha, motherfucker.
Yeah.
It's almost like Caden Killian.
I was going to say, like Caden Killian is like the patron saint of this.
You know, he downed a bunch of these on his way into the Starstone.
Bro, he inspired the man who invented it.
Yeah. So the idea of focusing your magic on reaching the world's hidden and forgotten places, let's see, whether it's a distant ruin, the depths of a lost monastery, that sort of thing, that's with the people who endured this Holocaust and lost their home to the entire outer rifts, just stomping all over their house. These guys are looking for lost places, so their magics reflect that theming. Yeah. So whether you're looking at items or feats or spells from this particular school of magic, this is the kind of stuff you're going to find. And there's a reactionary spell called Mimic Spell that I really liked. Concentrate, Manipulate, it's a level 8 spell. Trigger, a creature you're aware of is within range. They cast a spell of the same tradition as Mimic Spell and of the same or lower rank, 120 feet. You can mimic it, and it basically doesn't count against your spells for the day.
That's pretty rad.
120 feet.
It's pretty big.
That's a lot of squares on your battle maps.
How
big is your battle map? I bet it's not 120 feet. Most of ours aren't.
Yeah.
So those are a couple of like mimicking spells, using what the demons send against you to send it back to them.
As
and
a
finding
reflective
the hidden places.
quality.
The other schools don't do this.
Yeah.
This is a school unto itself. It's not enchantment. It's not necromancy. It's not abjuration. It's not any of the other traditional schools of magic. It's its own thing. And that's what this book did so well. So keep that in mind, because I'm not going to say it every time I go to a new school. But that's kind of the recurring theme. Every school has a thing that only they do and none of the others do. Continue.
Kithrodian?
There we are.
Actor.
Kithrodian. Let's hop on down.
So this is a one-sentence description.
Bards and rogues in terms of theming.
Just a bunch of hyper-specific bonuses to skill actions and reactions with some really weird triggers.
With the heavy emphasis on items, of course. So
this is an archetype. period.
It certainly is factually an archetype.
It's certainly an archetype. So I can see this being really useful in very specific games. Mm-hmm. And that'll come up a couple more times as we go through this. Yeah, maybe.
I mean, this whole thing is based on like music, acting, and performance-based magics for people who are tapped by the Talden CIA.
So so when you look at the mechanics of it, they care a lot about impersonating specific people.
Yes.
Who aren't dead.
Yes.
That if you want to do that, this is the archetype for you. The disguised self archetype.
Basically, yeah. I was just going to say, have you been at any table since this edition came out where somebody didn't have a hat of disguise or something like that?
Yes.
You probably have you? I don't know if I have. We've been at a lot of the same tables. There's like disguisers. Edgewatch has one.
That's it.
My character for Age of Ashes had it.
You can't count yourself, Eric.
I absolutely can. I count. I matter. But yeah, you're right though. The idea of like miming or replicating something to the most finite detail, so that you can pass because you are in espionage, and that's your magic. Yeah, and your magic has items that supplement your magic, and what you can't get by way of arcane trickery, you can get by way of stagecraft, and that's the beauty of this. How to do a stagecraft mage without stepping on the bard's toes. That's why I like this. And I think they could only do that by going the route of items.
Yeah, if you want to play a thespian
there it is.
in your game.
But how do they reproduce?
Colby
Slarney can find a way.
Colby Slarney. One of my best friends is actually one of the first people ever born through artificial insemination.
That is a crazy ass 7 Degrees of Kevin Bacon story.
Yeah, she's got 2 moms.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, that's...
Yeah.
There's like a book in there somewhere.
Yeah.
All right.
She doesn't like one of them. But, that's family. That's just family.
So, the Kitharodian... There are Star Wars creatures called Rhodians, and it throws me off every time I try to say this word.
Okay.
Yeah, they're stupid looking. I think.
Talk to me.
And then we had the representatives from the University of Lepidstadt.
Lepidstadt.
I guess I could grudgingly call them rivals. So this is one of our CIA.
Oh, sorry, you're reading right now. I thought you were just skipping over this whole school.
Nope. I'm contributing
to
the conversation. And then we had the representatives from the University of Lepidstadt. I guess we could grudgingly call them rivals. The same sort of families that send performers to Kith send their surgeons to Lepidstadt. So we see each other more than you'd think, given the distance. They scoff at us for being posh. We write limericks about how they're creepy. Of course, the first one I met that isn't a total creep immediately goes on a date with my sister.
That's beautiful.
There's so much shit talking in this book. I love it.
So beautiful.
I'm stealing it. Okay. Theater enhancers is one of the items. I fucking love this.
Sounds like a fucking sex pill.
Theater enhancers.
Like you put a quarter in the bathroom and you turn the thing and the theater enhancer pops out. Come on.
All right. Raise curtains. So the theater enhancers, they resemble a pair of opera glasses. When worn, they allow the viewer to see subtle illusions on key props or stage elements that had been cast ahead of time. For instance, a puppet of a demon might appear to project a sinister moving shadow, or a backdrop of a mountain might have snowflakes falling over it. Popular among theatergoers who want a visual experience grander than what they can see with their own eyes, theater enhancers are largely limited to fancy stage productions that can afford the time and money it takes to enchant a stage with them in mind. You will never see a character sheet with this on it straight out of Path Builder. But can you imagine like sending secret messages to people using these things?
Eric's getting hype about magical 3D glasses, and I love it.
So like for espionage story, for secret messages, for all the stuff you're like, I cast message.
Yeah.
That's like 100 out of 100 examples, right?
Right.
Well, this one just made it 99 out of 100. Mm-hmm. And then another one will be 98. We're going to get more options for the espionage kind of stories, the secret messages. We need to have this private conversation in a room full of people so nobody can hear us.
Theater enhancers.
It's just another cool way
to enhance
your game.
Absolutely.
Yeah, more options.
Absolutely.
I'm not going to read the other 2 items I have here.
Why not?
Okay.
Time?
I don't know. You tell me. You're the
give me
clock
one.
watcher
Give me
today.
more
Okay. Would you like a 7th level feat or would you like a level 0 item?
Level 0 item.
Yeah. This is the fake blood pack.
Yes! The squib.
I love it. So 1 gold piece. It's a consumable level 0 item. You can get this before you make a character sheet. You're legal. Usage, worn underneath light armor or clothes. Bulk light. Adventurers have found a number of uses for these animal blood bladders, which were originally used in theatrical productions. Whenever you take slashing or piercing damage with the fake blood pack under your clothes or armor, roll a DC 11 flat check. On a success, the blood pack is punctured. You or an ally can puncture the hidden pack intentionally with an interact action. When faking an injury, a punctured blood pack grants a +2 item bonus specifically, to relevant deception checks, such as to lie about being injured. For 4 hours after the 4 hours after the pack has been punctured, or until the blood is washed off, whichever comes first. Abilities that trigger when a creature deals bleed damage that determine if a creature is bleeding or are otherwise based on bleed damage don't trigger or apply for blood from a fake blood pack, which might mean creatures with such abilities automatically realize this ruse. That's a lot of words to talk about. Oh, no, I'm injured.
A squib.
Yeah, but again, this right here is saying, listen up, players and GMs. I know sometimes you guys like to play possum on the field when you have 1 hit point left. This right here is a level 0 item. Go with God. It's
God.
It's just fucking rad.
Oh my gosh.
Like these are not like min-maxing options for your character, and they do cost gold. And gold is more than just currency in 2nd edition remastered. Yeah. So it's just yet another treat. My wife hates that word. It's yet another treat that GM can kind of like just send to players that aren't going to break the game, and also provide flavorful experiences at the table that don't just keep getting replicated every single adventure you ever play in your life.
I fucking love it.
Yeah.
I fucking love it. All right, let's jump forward.
Where are we going?
My next archetype is the Lepidostat Surgeon.
Okay, we're going emo.
Lepidostat.
So, investigator, alchemist was supposedly...
Inventor alchemist.
See, that's what I thought too. Yeah. But maybe it was a
that's
typo.
a typo. I think that might be a typo.
It might be.
Because here's okay, so let's talk about this. Let's talk about Lepidostat Surgeon. All right. So
let's talk about bumps,
fun,
baby.
Flavorful, and good. I put in all caps in my notes. Mm-hmm. This is 2 archetypes in 1.
3 balls up.
You are a Dr. Frankenstein, and you can either focus on having a construct companion, who is the monster Frankenstein, Frankenstein's monster, or handing out some very impressive healing buffs.
Yes. Yeah.
So this is like battle surgeon. This is crazy battle surgeon, or you have a flesh golem.
Little column A, little column B.
You kind of.
I think you're right about the inventor thing, because the 3 words they specifically called out for this one are occultism, alchemy, and technology. I think you're right on the inventor.
So like, what's really cool about this is, if you want a weird animal companion, but you don't want to be like, you don't want to multi-class into inventor, and you have a flesh creature as your animal companion, this is the perfect thing to pick up.
Yeah.
You also get like access to some really weird healing abilities, especially at first level. Makes you really good at medicine. Medicine's really powerful. It got even more powerful with...
There's so many ways to heal in this book.
Yeah.
So many ways.
You like use lightning as a huge theme for Lepidostat.
Yeah. Stasi coils are a main theme in this.
Exactly. So...
it's hilarious too, because the Lepidostat students, they're like, we're the only ones who use it. You guys don't use Stasi coils. It's
This is basic shit, guys.
It's so Draco.
Yeah. Okay. So I just think it's a great archetype. It fits all of the it fits everything you want it to be and more, because it's actually good. Like healing abilities.
It's creepy good.
The healing abilities are really powerful. Some of the buffs, especially the 8th level buff, or when you heal, you can basically jolt someone, give them temp HP, and then at 8th level, they get haste. for 1 turn.
Yeah, but you have to scream "It's alive" at the table. Maybe even out the window.
Absolutely. Just like when you wah at the table of
Goblin
Warhammer,
rules.
you have to yell wah at the table. My favorite feat out of all of them on theme alone is stand back. I'm a doctor. Oh my God, yes. So Eric
If you
just
didn't
showed
go
me.
there, I
oh
was
my
gonna go
God,
there.
dude.
Go
So
ahead.
what
You get
level
this
is this? What level
Level
is this?
12.
Level 12. So you basically
You need to be a master in medicine to do this, as he tells you this.
well,
Keep that in mind.
yeah. That's super easy by level
Yeah,
12.
that makes it even funnier that a master does this.
Exactly.
Go ahead,
So
go ahead.
you run up, basically put together some of those electric paddles, shock someone back to life, and then either the other creatures around you take damage, or they can use a step action to step away. Like, is it good? Yes.
I was holding my breath until I saw that step action.
Yes. Is it good? Yes. Is it flavorful? Yes. Is it fucking hilarious?
Yeah.
Yes.
It checks all the boxes.
They really
It's
knocked
creepy,
it out of the park.
fun, gothic, and like, ooh, look, I'm wearing all black, but
Yeah.
it's funny as hell.
It really knows its genre.
Frankenstein.
Yeah, Frankenstein, dude. Ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love this archetype. I think it's great. I don't know much more I could say about it.
Yeah. Again, I want to kind of point to what each of these schools do that the other ones do not do.
Totally.
So where we had the Kithrodian, they had items. That's their thing. But they were items designed to, like you said, simulate or mimic other things so that they can pass. The items that these guys have access to, these are like dealing with the extending of life, dealing with the manipulation of life energies and bodies that are no longer alive. The items are all geared towards that specific area. So you chock a block full of gadgets and items.
Engineering and technology.
It's mad science. Yep.
It's mad science in a magical world that actually works.
Yeah, and it's fun. It's funny, and if you don't want it to be funny because you're playing Vampire the Masquerade and everything is so serious, you can have that too.
Yeah.
But if you want to get the giggles, it's here. It's in the text.
Baked in, baby. Yeah. Give me some shit talking text. Do you have some shit talking text from
these guys?
Leopardstat? Or are they not witty enough?
Fuck, I think it was like 11 o'clock at night by the time I got to that entry.
Gotcha.
I don't have like shit talking text for all of them.
Should we
I must have skipped this one.
Should we leave Rune Lord for the end, or do we want to talk
Let's
about it now?
leave it for the end. Yeah.
All right. Cool.
That's one of the shining moments of this book.
All right. So
I hate YouTube.
Colby Slarney, rare witch patron.
Rare witch patron.
So Colby Slarney,
not a dick.
No,
a patron that's not a dick.
No.
Who knew they existed?
So Colby Slarney is like a god-like fey being,
Very old.
who is a giant elephant.
Yeah, he's like a holophant. Is that what they call it? It's that weird giant elephant with like 6 tusks or something like that and like 3 eyes.
It's got 3 eyes. It's got an entire school on its back.
Yep.
And it has an extra dimensional space that is a library in its mind. Okay.
That you are invited, you are encouraged to come visit.
Yes.
It's not like, get out of my mind. It's like, hey, I've got room for one more.
And you can
I'm a fae, you can trust me.
You can literally get lost in it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So druids and witches are kind of the class themes of the Colby Slarney.
Right. Colby Slarney is...
And witch contracts and pact binding specifically.
Right. So I didn't talk about the pact binder.
Pact binding was cool.
Yeah, pact binding was cool.
I didn't know a lot about it coming into this.
Because of limited time, I didn't want to get into it. It looks interesting, but pact binding is an archetype and a style of magic introduced in the game that you will really depend on its efficacy with the DM.
Yes.
If your DM is cool for it and wants to bring this kind of theme into their game, it will. You're going to be good.
Yeah.
But it can really, really negatively or like it could throw the whole plot sideways.
It can, yeah. It seems like a more player-facing version of what you experience in a Chilaxian Devil Contract.
Right.
Hell's Vengeance kind of a storyline.
Yeah.
In old AP for first edition.
So anyway, Colby Slarney is a patron of witches.
Yep. And he invites you to be a witch.
You can... Third eye, I wrote here in my notes, third eye, Rad. So you get, if you're a witch of Kobe Slarney, you get.
If you want the annotated script of Goblin Salvage Rise, just let us know and
yeah, there you go. Go to Patreon and you'll find it there. You get a third eye, which is kind of cool. Your familiar also gets a third eye. Extra cool.
Right. He's not with me. Fucking liar.
Fucking liar. So every witch gets
eye patch.
A hex, a high patch in the center of your head.
Oh my God. You can see these with the eye patch.
So every witch basically gets every witch patron gives you the School of Magic you cast spells from, which is a cult in this case.
Right.
Pretty straightforward. You then get a familiar ability and then a hex cantrip to cast, along with like a free spell, and that's basically it. Oh, and I think some free spells. No, just one free spell. You get more free spells later with lessons. So the familiar ability, and the familiar ability is a big thing that changed in the remastered Witch. So whenever you cast a hex or a hex cantrip, basically whenever you do a focus spell or the cantrip that comes with the patron, your familiar has an ability that triggers off of them. So it kind of encourages you to have a familiar sometimes go out into the battle and actually be in a battle instead of just like on your shoulder, not getting hit or targeted. In this case, it's definitely on your shoulder, not getting targeted, because whenever you trigger the familiar ability, it gets a free recall knowledge check based on your stats and your knowledges.
Yeah, this school is really big on saying, hey, do you remember that one time when you don't? No, you never experienced it. Here, you can remember it this way.
Yeah.
That's like almost all of their stuff deals with like forgotten lore or lore that's in somebody else's head that you can stick it into yours.
If you have a GM that is always looking for opportunities to feed you more information, this is a great option.
You might want to shop at the Kobe Slarney Mart.
You might want to go to Kobe Slarney.
Slarney.
If you have a GM who hates things like the investigators...
God damn it. That's odd.
That's odd. You might want to have a conversation and be like, hey, dude, look, I'm going to be knowledge checking literally every round of every combat if I play my class right.
I am a lore master from the school of Kobe Slarney.
Literally.
I run this game now.
This plus lore master or this plus bard in some way. This is a class feature. So you can do this and then put lore master on top of it and just do the lore master lore check. There's ways to
that just doesn't even sound fun.
There's ways to twist this. Yeah. So this is powerful. And we haven't even gotten to the most powerful option that's offered here. We haven't,
but since we're on familiars, there are two new familiars that they offer in this
book. Yeah.
One is the Mocking Fae, which I believe are like birds with human faces.
Yes.
Look awesomely creepy. And they do specific
They
things.
like to parrot whatever you say, even though they can speak normal languages. It just annoys them.
Yep. The problem with your daughter.
I fucking love that.
Calligraphy worm is the other one.
Yeah.
WIRM dragon.
It's a little dragon boy who's got inky
fairy dragon from old D&D editions. Only fun.
Inky fingers.
So yeah, like new familiars in rival academies, where it's supposed to be a book about magic things,
wizards
and schools of magic. No, we're throwing you monsters now. There are creatures in this book.
Yes,
that's cool. Continue.
Okay. The other ability that comes with witches is your hex cantrip. This is always a one action cantrip, which is important because most spells are all 2 actions, especially when they interact negatively with your opponents.
Yes.
You just so
I remember something I want to say, but I'm going to wait because I'm patient and I'm a patient goblin.
Information overload. Cantrip 1.
Oh, that was so cool. That's like straight up out of the Malkavian Madness Network.
Yeah, so this is really powerful. It's basically a save or suck stupefied 1 or 2. It's one action. So the reason this is really powerful is because stupefied does 2 things. 1, it gives you -1 to will saves and all other mental skill checks. And if you're a caster, you basically have concealment for your spells. So you roll a DC 5 flat check, and if you fail, your spell fizzles and you lose a slot. The fact that you can do this with the machine gun is kind of fucking cool.
Yeah.
Because you could just be like, 1 combat, information overload, next round. next round, information overload on everyone at the party. Every one of your enemies.
Yeah.
Especially the casters. And then, because you have the occult spell list, like more than half of all the spells you have will saves. Mm-hmm. Now, it's important to note that this does not stack with the most powerful and accessible debuff to will saves that everyone should be aware of. Goblins, if you're listening, pro tip for building characters who like will saves. Bon Mot exists.
Bon Mot is top tier.
On a critical success, they take a -3 status penalty to will saves for like a minute. Mm-hmm. Unless they spend an action to quip back.
Yeah, and what combat lasts longer than a minute?
I mean, your opponent is either taking a huge debuff to their will save or they're getting rid of it on their turn. So if your buddy who's good at charisma-based things, Bon Mots them, and then your turn is immediately after theirs, you hit him with a fucking big wombo combo, you get a good will save, you get a critical failure on a really big will save spell. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's like that moment in Monty Python and the Holy Grail where the Frenchman on the castle says that your mother is a hamster and your father smelt of elderberry.
Yes.
That was a critical success
on a Bon Mot. Exactly.
And it just stupefied us.
Yes.
We're like,
huh?
Well, what now?
Huh?
Go on, say something.
Huh? So anyway, this doesn't stack with Bon Mot. Important distinction, but you are a intelligence-based caster, so you probably don't have very high charisma. Just guessing.
That's true. Yeah.
And this can't be undone. So basically, if you hit it with them and they land, it lands. And it stacks really well with the rest of your character who is literally going to be casting will saving throws all the time.
Yes.
So because of that little interaction, that is what makes this patron rare from a mechanical perspective.
Sure.
Because remember, rare things are almost always one step a little more powerful than anything that's not rare. Rare comes with rarity and power, whereas uncommon really doesn't come with any additional power.
Having read as many books as you have at this point in the release cycle, are we at a point where you can guess that rarity kind of bumps the power up 10%, 20%, 7%? And guessing is fine.
That's an interesting question. It's very hard to value. I would say rarity, my knee-jerk reaction is 20 to 30%.
That's a lot. And we're about to get into the fucking sin mage.
Okay, here's a good example. A normal class ability gives you an extra action sometimes.
Okay.
A rare class ability gives you an extra action always. That's the difference. It's kind of like guaranteed extra action. Okay, here's a great example. A normal class ability gives all of your friends a normal class ability that is, if I'm not mistaken, it's a water ability from the kineticist. Basically gives an AoE where your friends can move, but they move at half their speed.
Okay.
The rare class, the exemplar, has a similar ability, but your friends can just move not at half speed.
Is that a mythic thing or is that a regular thing?
That's a regular class ability that is rare.
That is
that is a class ability from a rare class. So, and I could be wrong. There's obviously going to be some differences between the timing and all that shit and stuff like that. But this is just one example. I was just curious
about what's the percentage upkick when we start shifting from
I would guess about it varies, honestly. It really does.
I want to hear you guys too. If you guys have any experience with this, and I know some of you are like major math nerds out there. Let me know.
I would say anywhere from 20 to 50%.
I want to be able to speak with borrowed authority on this.
Yeah, totally.
So anyway, one of the things that I really appreciate about the archetypes in this book, and it's not something I remember getting a lot of as I went through the 100 plus archetypes at this point. You get something at basically every even level, almost all the way to 20. Like it'll stop at like 16 oftentimes, sometimes 14. I saw an 18 or 2 in there, but like you're always getting something, when you go up every couple of levels, instead of like, you get something at level 2 and then you got to wait till level 6.
So the reason for that, I am almost positive, I would bet, $100 on, is the fact that Paizo has come to the conclusion that everyone is using the free archetype variant almost as
frequently as
they use the path builder. Like free archetype has become ubiquitous.
Yeah.
And because of that, they've realized that archetypes need to have a class ability every even level so that you can use your free archetype, especially in the early levels, so that you can then multi-class into a new free archetype.
Yeah. Yeah. I think for some classes that just don't seem to kick at certain levels, having an archetype that gives you something to chew on while you're waiting for that kick at a certain level, that's invaluable.
And a good archetype has 2 options, 2 different feats at 4th level, 6th level, and 8th level.
Yes, yeah. So I think, I guess my point was, for this specific book, it just seemed like every single one of them did this. Whereas in previous books, you would get a few that went that frequent, every even level. But there was still a lot that were like, wow, I only get like 3, maybe 4 choices.
They would skip level 4.
For
they would skip level 6.
It was just obnoxious. Or start at level 6, 8, or 10 or something like that. Which is fine.
I don't mind starting at level 6 so much.
If I get an 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, I'm cool with it.
Right.
But that didn't always happen.
I mean, the thing is with the free archetype, if you start at level 2, you have your dedication. There's never another feat outside of your dedication. Then you have level 4 and level 6. Between level 4 and level 6, you got to get 2 feats in order to be able to move on to a new one.
Right.
So if you have a new archetype that starts at level 6, that means that the archetype you took before it, in order to legally jump, you basically have to have access to a free archetype. There needs to be 2 level 4 feats for you to choose from, so you can choose both of them.
Right.
And extra points if that level 4 feat, that second level 4 feat, or even better, a third level 4 feat, is a skill feat. Because if it's a skill feat, you can choose it and it counts as an archetype feat and a skill feat. So you can use your skill feat slot for it, but it counts towards the archetype feat's requirement to change your multi-class. Okay. So people at home, if you want to design a cool archetype and you're trying to make something that's really valuable to players and some, a well-designed thing. This is something that Paizo doesn't really talk about enough. Like, Paizo doesn't really talk about the design philosophy enough, and I've kind of had to reverse engineer all of it by myself.
Is it possible that what you're saying is factually correct, or are we just not looking in the right places? I don't know. I mean, I used to have my finger on the pulse of this sort of thing much better than I do these days.
Goblins, tell me in the comments if you
is
know
there a
where this
designer's
exists.
journal floating around out there for these things?
Because I really would love to read it, because I'm having figured this all on my own. It would really be nice if there was a roadmap. But anyway, if you're making an archetype for someone, if you're trying to publish an archetype, especially in today's environment of free archetype everywhere, level 4, having 2 archetype feats you can take. One of them is a skill archetype, is a skill feat in addition to being a normal archetype feat, is perfect. Optimally, have 3 level 4 feats, one of which is a skill, the other 2 are regular archetype feats that you have to use a class feat for. That way your person has plenty of choice, and they can jump into a 6th level archetype if they want immediately afterwards. That's a fun, it just fits together. It fits really well.
It really does. Can I talk about my favorite thing from this section that has 7 tags?
I've got 2 Greater Witch lessons, so do your thing, and then I'll jump into the Greater Witch lessons. It's pretty short.
Okay, gotcha. Greater Witch lessons, censure falsehoods. Is that one of the things you're going to go over?
I'm going to talk about them both.
Okay, cool. So it's a 3rd level focus spell, uncommon, concentrate, curse.
3rd
focus,
rank.
Hex. Sorry, 3rd
You
rank.
get it at 6th level.
Uncommon, concentrate, curse, focus, hex, manipulate, witch. 30 feet, 1 creature. Lesson, vows. Defense is fortitude. You call on your patron to reprimand a creature that has attempted a deception or stealth check against you or an ally within the past month.
Very narrow trigger.
You must be aware that they did so. People lie all the time. Wide trigger. Everybody lies. You must be aware they did so. Whenever the target speaks, toads and serpents fall from their lips. The target attempts a fortitude saving throw. The spell lasts as long as the target remains sickened by it. 4 degrees of success. Critical success. A few animals fall from their lips, but they're otherwise unaffected. Success. Target is sickened 1. failure. Target is sickened 2, and they perform an action that has an auditory trait. I'm sorry. And if they perform an action that has the auditory trait or attempt to cast a spell, they must succeed at a DC 5 flat check, or the action is disrupted as they choke on the animal. I love that. Critical failure. As failure, and if the target attempts a deception or stealth check, their sicken value increases by 1 to a maximum of sicken 4. I love this because NPCs lie. That's what they do. That's how your GM hooks you. Other players, they lie. That's what they do. That's how they get shit. So there's not a single day you can't use this if you're paying attention and engaging with the world.
From a spell trigger perspective, it is incredibly narrow. However, the effect is very powerful.
Yeah.
It's because even on a critical success, something still happens. And that thing is embarrassing.
Yeah.
So this is only really powerful in social situations.
Yes.
And in combats, but especially on the critical and regular failures.
Sure.
But imagine just like casting this in a social situation in the corner, hidden.
Yeah.
And then, the famous person at a party, all of a sudden they have animals falling out of their mouth and they critically succeeded, but they're still embarrassed.
Yeah.
To me, that's just so perfect.
It's juicy and it encourages roleplay.
Yeah.
And it's also, if I'm looking at this on my character sheet and my GM says, what are you guys doing for downtime? I'm going to go find somebody that lied to me. What am I doing for downtime? And then do one of the actual downtime activities and flavor this into that.
Right.
It's a lot of bang for your buck. It's not going to be something you use on boss fights where you haven't interacted with the boss and you just trip over them in the middle of a dungeon. It's something that sort of you need to set the stage for to really have this.
You're in a boss. Okay, imagine you're in a boss fight. You and the boss are teeing off, whole party against the big boss, and you're like, hey, big boss, do you have a big dick? And the boss is like, of course I do. I am the biggest, killiest big boss ever. And you're like, ha.
Show me some frogs, bitch.
Censure of falsehoods.
But you have to know they're lying to you, which means you have to have seen that dick at some point.
X-ray vision goggles, baby.
Okay. We're getting back to Kithrodian trinkets. And again, I'm here for it. So Greater Witch Lesson, Censure Falsehoods, it's a 2-action thing. Focus 3. So that's thing 1. Anything else on that one?
No. Unravel knowledge is the other one.
So much of this book is about gaining and retrieving and accessing other people's knowledge. This goes the other direction. Continue.
I don't know if I've become spoiled, Eric.
Do I get a vote?
But the fact that this spell has no effect on a success makes me immediately dismiss it.
Interesting.
Because when you look at the math of spells, the reason why the 4 action works so well is because the probability of you hitting someone the probability of you hitting AC is much higher than the probability of you hitting a save.
Okay.
Especially if you're targeting their high save, which makes the value of success, negative effects on success, far more important.
Is the critical success for this specific one?
No, regular success. A success and regular success, nothing happens. That's the issue I'm running into.
Yeah, but there's a crit success component, right?
No.
No? Is it just fail or?
It's fail or crit fail, and then if not,
nothing
I totally
else happens. Past that then. Okay.
Yeah, if the person succeeds their will save, nothing happens.
I've got nothing to say about that because clearly I read right past it.
Okay. I just...
That is weird. That can't be an oversight.
That's
a lot of missing text.
Unravel knowledge, it's 2 actions. It's a 3rd rank focus spell, so it's like a 3rd level spell.
Ain't nothing.
It's a 3rd level spell, 3rd rank spell. It's just... I was disappointed, man. I was just like, I would never take this. The other option is clearly funnier.
Yeah. There's probably 80% of the things offered in this book that you would never take as well. So I'm going to take that with a grain of salt.
That's true. You got me there. So that's
Colby Slarney Witches. That's all Colby I've got for them. The Packbinder feats were pretty rad. I thought.
I'm pulling it up right now just to see if I didn't miss anything.
Colby Slarney. Did you appreciate the hilarity that is the Shaping Suite?
No.
The Shaping Suite is a level 2 item. It's a consumable. It's magical. It's rare, of course. 6 gold pieces. Many inhabitants of the first world can shape their environment. Big theme with this school. They have a lot of trouble when they come to
Oh, yeah. I just reread Unravel Knowledge. It sucks.
Okay. Robert is not happy.
Not happy.
So many inhabitants of the first world can shape their environment around them. Weaker creatures can only make minor changes, while powerful entities, such as the eldest, can remake entire landscapes. The Shaping Sweet is a gelatinous, fruit-flavored candy that confers the whisper of this ability on you when you eat it. So for 1 hour after eating the Shaping Sweet, you can make each of the following changes to your surroundings with an interact action. You can make each change only once. There's 4 of them. You can alter weather. You create or eliminate minor precipitation in a 30-foot emanation. Fairy Ring. A ring of flowers and mushrooms appear in a 10-foot burst around you, restoring 1 hit point at the start of each of your turns to a randomly chosen fey creature within. The ring lasts for a minute. Foliate. Vegetation grows around you in a 10-foot radius burst, creating light undergrowth that lasts for a minute. Terrain Shift. The ground in your space rises or falls by 5 feet, remaining at that height for 1 full minute. So this level 2 item, essentially, it lets you sort of like have a small taste of what the eldest can do to reshape like an entire plane of existence.
Right.
And that, I feel, is something that could be like really cool in Kingmaker specifically. And just anything that is Fey touched or Fey adjacent or suggestive of Fey. So with the Colby Slarney, they're like, hey, we're Fey and we're proud, right? Mm-hmm. They're out in their parades. But see what I did there? But if you're playing like a more mundane campaign where you're like, yeah, this is just a bunch of humans living in a medieval society, whatever your
quote unquote
historical era is, and you just want to have a suggestion of something other, of something Fey specifically. Shaping Sweet is a really cool way to do it. It's flavorful. It does mechanical stuff. You can use it in combat. You can use it out of combat. It does a little bit of healing. You can create difficult terrain. It lasts for a significant amount of time, combat-wise. Mm-hmm. It just does a little bit of everything, and it's a consumable. And there aren't a ton of consumables that are that what do you call it? That do that many different things. Usually, consumables and talismans are super targeted. They do one thing, and usually it's not all that great or impressive enough to spend money on. Mm-hmm. It's super flexible. There's 4 different things you can do, and you can do them all. It's not like you have to choose 1 of 4. You get all 4 of them. Pop it, make them happen. It's
make them happen, baby.
Yeah. So that idea of a multi-use consumable, a Swiss Army knife of consumables with the Fey sort of a thing attached was pretty cool. One more thing, and then I'll shut up about the Kubislarni. We've got to talk about this emu with a 3-piece suit.
Okay, please go on.
Because this is an NPC. I think all the schools sent like 3 representatives, if I remember right. And one of them for the Kubislarni is this emu, whose name is totally irrelevant. It's just an emu in a suit. If you pluck one of their feathers, you have this thing called a mnemonic feather. It's a level 3 item, rare magical. Murou, M-U-R-O-U. Crafted these feathers to assist in remembering information. A mnemonic feather is an emu feather imbued with magical energies. You can place the mnemonic feather in a book with an interact action. As long as the mnemonic feather remains in that book, you recall information contained in that book perfectly, as if you were reading the page. As long as the book is on the same plane of existence as you. When you attempt to recall knowledge about a topic contained within the book, you gain a +1 status bonus to the check. Activate, recite, mnemonic, reaction. Auditory, concentrate, mental. Once a day. Trigger. An ally within 30 feet attempts a recall knowledge check involving the topic in the mnemonic feather's book. Effect. You mentally impart the book's knowledge to your ally, giving them the benefit of the mnemonic feather. You put this motherfucker in a book, you hide it at home under your bed.
Right.
Encyclopedia Britannica. Go.
Actually, is what that ability is.
That's exactly what it is. But the idea of this, like, this could be Slarney, Professor Emeritus is showing up. He's like, here, grab a feather out of my ass. Stick it in your wife's journal.
Oh,
diary.
my God.
You don't have to read the thing. You just know it.
That's dubious,
And then
Eric.
come back the next night and stick it in your daughter's diary. Okay?
Oh, my God. Eric, you're evil.
Go to your king's counting house and stick it in their tax ledger. these are not useless items and spells. They're just situational where you have to work a little harder to find like the really cool, juicy RP uses or just like a narrative kind of, yeah. So that I really like that. And it's mischievous and fun because it's Fae, but it's useful because we all love lore masters and acquiring immediate knowledge immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was my thing there.
That is pretty rad. I love how knowing a book perfectly only imparts a +1 status bonus to
Wasn't
the knowledge
that
check.
cool? Yeah, I know. That was a little kind of like, I mean, I know we got to keep the balance.
Yeah, but come on, guys. Yeah. All right, this is gonna be a longer video than normal.
There's a lot in this book.
There is. So I'm gonna jump straight into the Monastery of Unbreaking Waves.
I was pleasantly surprised
All right,
with this.
so this is a double. There's two things that are important to talk about
Magus
here.
and monks.
Magus and monks. They
And
both
elemental
got,
shit.
Yeah, the Magus and monks both got really cool options.
Yeah, that was nice.
Let's talk about the Magus hybrid study first. It's called Resurgent Maelstrom. I wish I had read this book before I wrote the rules for our iconic Magus on Patreon. Because the way in which they handled the specific language in this, I would have borrowed to help integrate into my, like, mechanically the way they thought about it just made a lot of sense to me. And I probably would have stolen a piece or two from the way this works.
And you'll get to when we circle back to phase 2 of our Goblinati.
Exactly. So basically this is an improvised weapon waterbender Magus archetype.
Emphasis, heavy emphasis, all caps, bold, underline, italicized on improvised weapon.
Yes.
That's a major theme for this entire thing.
Yeah. So the idea is you grab random shit, you turn it into a water weapon that basically the water wraps around the item. So if you have like a bottle, right? You know, like
this one
I just drank, you could turn it into a cudgel.
Yeah.
And water wraps around it, and now it's like a big spiked cudgel.
Yeah, they took the Magus class and gave it that thing we all loved in 3rd edition, which was like wield anything or use anything.
Well, we already have improvised fighter as an archetype. That was pretty good now.
Did we?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
It's actually in our it's an archetype I brought up in our most popular
could you do
video.
Spells with it?
You couldn't, and that's the difference
Could
here.
you do kung fu with it?
You couldn't.
I submit you could not.
So I'm just gonna burn through this because
do it.
You may or may not be interested. So the improvised weapon gets 1d6 damage or 1d4 if agile. If it's a one-handed weapon, it gets backstabber. If it's a two-handed weapon, it gets forceful. And every weapon you wield gains versatile bludgeoning, slashing, and piercing. That is
Every weapon.
Very good.
If you're wielding a roll of Scotch tape, you get it.
That's very, very good. Very good. So the focus spell that you get with this, every Magus hybrid study comes with a special combat focus spell. They all allow you to do a strike and another thing.
Yeah.
Strike into thing.
Right.
And it's one action, which is the same number of actions it takes to do a strike. So this is an action economy thing where you get that 4th action. Almost, but designer's corner. I've laid a lot of designer wisdom on you. Here's another little nugget. Every class has a way to get a 4th action.
Okay.
Very few, if no, classes get a 5th action. That's not true for fighters, technically, but it is kind of. There's ways around it. Okay. So basically, a 4th action is pretty ubiquitous. There's a lot of ways. Monks especially get it with their flurry of blows, stuff like that. So that's what I mean by 4th action. Do 2 things with 1 action. That's important here. So, Turbulent Tide, break a weapon when striking to push enemies away and free move to one of them. So basically, 1 focus point and 1 action, you strike someone, your improvised weapon explodes, pushing people back.
Yep.
And you get to move, and I think you get to step towards one of them, or you get to move towards one of them. I can't remember. This is cool. It
really
fun.
is. And I remember the language on some of these feats and or abilities. The idea being that weapons are disposable, and when they shatter, you fill the space that used to be the weapon, kind of like a kintsugi, where you break a vase and you repair it with gold.
Gold lacquer.
With gold lacquer, but you fill it with your element. So if you shatter a spear using one of these things, and you're a fire, and you're doing fire foo as a magus, then your broken spear will look like a spear, but the parts that make it look like a spear are actually flame.
Okay, so just not to confuse any listeners, this is specific, like the theming around this is all water.
This particular one, yeah.
Right, yeah. So there's no other element that this specific rule can allow you to use.
Right, because it's the Maelstrom Magus specifically.
Right. I mean, the whole school is about water shit. It's all water themed.
Right.
Specifically, there's a 6th level feat that Eric's talking about. I think he's referencing called surface tension that allows you to ignore the penalties of the broken condition on the weapon you're wielding. So I pick up a glass bottle, I hit Eric with it, and I use one of my special abilities. There's other feats that allow, like Shattering Spell Strike allows you to break your weapon, dealing extra damage.
That's the one I want to
Your improvised weapon, yeah. Surface tension lets you keep wielding this broken glass and Kutsugi it back together with water and the power of surface tension of water to keep fighting with it.
Yeah, and so that's kind of like the whole idea of shit that breaks, because we break shit to look cool, right? That's what we do. We're goblins. But the fact that it's still a usable item, it's still actionable,
This reminds me a lot
nice metaphor there.
of one of my favorite combos in Pathfinder First Edition, which was the Breaker Barbarian and the Wrecker Oracle.
I have never heard of that.
Yeah, I think I've talked about it on the podcast.
The Wrecker Oracle?
So basically, the Breaker Barbarian was a Sunder monster. We don't have Sundering anymore, but back then there was a whole class of attacks that basically allowed you to break people's shit. So instead of attacking you, I attack your sword, I attack your shield, I attack your armor, I attack a magical wand you have on your possession. And eventually, because of the way the rules worked, hitting an item was easier than hitting a person often.
You're basically Mayhem from that commercial.
Yes. And the Wrecker Oracle basically said that anything you pick up is broken, but you can wield broken items without any penalty. So the two stacked with each other really, really well in some really fun ways.
Nice.
This kind of reminds me of that in a lot of ways. I would love to see like a kind of Sunder fighter reborn. I have some build ideas. Is basically what I'm getting at here. So I'm a really big fan of Resurgent Maelstrom hybrid study. Do you want to talk about Shattering Spell Strike?
Yeah. I just took a shot of it because I really enjoyed the theming of it. It's feat 4. It's a Magus thing. It's got a force tag in it. You need the Resurgent Maelstrom hybrid study spell strike, so clearly got to be Magus. You have to be in your arcane cascade stance and wielding an improvised weapon. You intentionally channel a rampaging cascade of magic through your weapon, breaking it to deal more damage, making a spell strike against a target with your improvised weapon. If the attack hits, it deals an additional 2d6 force damage as your improvised weapon breaks. If the spell used with the spell strike wasn't a cantrip or focus spell, increase the additional damage by the spell's rank. If the item has a hardness greater than your level, or if it's an artifact, a cursed item, or other item that's difficult to break or destroy, it just doesn't break, and you don't deal the additional damage. So there's a bit of sort of like plot armor built into the spell, which I don't know how I feel about that, but I appreciate the sentiment behind it. It's definitely GM friendly, and it still doesn't rob players of their ability to cool shit.
Yeah.
So I just keep going back to that Limp Bizkit album I used to have. Hot dog, chocolate starfish, and hot dog flavored water.
What?
Oh, you young kids.
You
we had some
fucking
stupid
kids.
shit growing up.
Yeah, you did.
Every generation does. Mine was
And
no different.
you raised us.
Yeah. I didn't raise shit. I raised a puppy, a wonderful, glorious puppy. But they had a song called, Breaking Stuff to Look Cool.
Right.
And for some reason, that line has just stuck in my head ever since. And, my goblin brain breaking stuff to look cool is just sort of like that. This is it. I mean, you're not a rogue breaking things to look cool. You're not a bard, theatrically breaking things to look cool. You're not a fighter or a barbarian. The classes that one might associate with breaking things to look cool. No, you are a super skilled magus.
Magic wielding
You are
martial
an
fighter.
irresponsible fucking bull in a china shop magus.
Yeah.
I just don't associate the whole break everything you have and then use it, weaponize it against your enemy as a trained magus. The whole sword and sorcery thing.
In the classic bar fight scenario, you're sitting at the bar with no weapons.
Yeah.
Someone tries to punch you or attack you, or you get in a fight, you grab a chair, you WWE a motherfucker.
Yeah.
With a water-wrapped cudgel.
This
is
the magus that grew up on government cheese.
Yes.
That's what this class is.
Exactly. I couldn't have said it better myself.
That's all I got for Shattering Spell Strike.
So, Unbreaking Waves monk feats. There's a bunch of monk feats, a bunch of stances, a bunch of cool shit in here. I love monks. I've never played one. I want to play one pretty soon.
Yeah. If I could rewrite my monk from Gabby's game,
yes,
all over again.
Absolutely.
This is the kind of shit I was going for.
Exactly.
The Feodin spells they have at the end of this chapter. Yeah, I'd be all over that.
So there's 3 stances. I wrote in my notes 2 stances, but there's 3. Flood stance, Reflective Ripple, and Student of Water. Flood stance is weird. You get 1d8 damaged with your attacks, and you hold your breath the whole time.
Yes.
And it's basically like the water stance. Later on, there's other feats that add on to it that basically make you really good at fighting in and on water. Reflective Ripple stance. 1d6 bludgeoning, brawling group, agile, disarm, finesse, non-lethal, trip, unarmed, and water traits. The big thing here is that the disarm and trip, you basically get bonuses, circumstance bonus to athletics checks to disarm, swim, or trip people. So this is the disarm and trip stance. We've never had that before. And then Student of Water, waterfowl stance. This is really cool.
Is that when you pee in the pool?
Exactly. Okay. This is exactly what it is. Yeah. This is pretty cool because there aren't a lot of, from my memory, there aren't a lot of options that build on top of the monastic weaponry feat.
Yeah, that feels like a neglected part of the rule set.
Right. Monks are always fighting with their fists. Monastic weaponry lets you have access to a bunch of weapons with the monk trait and let you flurry with them.
Yeah.
This one is a basically sword-focused one where you basically can do some really cool slashing damage attacks and stuff like that. While in waterfowl stance, they list off some weapons I can't pronounce. Whenever you tumble through or jump over an opponent, you deal slashing damage to them, which I think is pretty cool. And then later on, you get some pretty fucking crazy feats. Not gonna lie, fam.
If anybody's going to get the crazy feats, it should be the monks and Magi.
Yeah, absolutely. This one's really good. Divert Stream Flow. Trigger, it's a reaction 4th level feat. You are damaged by a melee strike by a creature or by a creature in your reach. So basically, your opponent starts their turn, they strike you once and they hit. With a brief gesture, you adapt swiftly to an attack to take the flowing stream. Attempt an athletics check to reposition the creature who dealt the triggering damage. If you're successful, you can step as a free action. This allows you to distance yourself from an opponent and make it so that they can't attack you anymore if they have a 5-foot reach. Also, as someone who practiced Chinese martial arts for over 10 years and was specifically what many people would describe as a water style.
Okay.
This is perfect.
Yeah?
The writing for this is so appropriate to the actual fighting style that I think they're trying to talk about.
Sure. Whoever wrote this didn't just watch a bunch of kung fu movies and then shit out this article.
Yes. Water styles are all about
pee out this article.
Repositioning yourself and your opponent to gain advantages.
Yeah.
And that is just perfectly emulated in this one single feat, which I think is really cool.
Major Aikido vibes.
Yeah, so not going to talk about that.
Go ahead.
Snakebird Shadow, 2 actions, level 8 feet. Basically allows you to no map hit multiple people on a 15-foot line, which is pretty rad. Hitting multiple people in a 15-foot line with no map, pretty strong.
Yeah?
Pretty strong.
Almost sounds mythic.
Maybe. I don't know if I call it mythic, though. It has a lot of prerequisites. It's part of the whole sword fighting.
But that whole fantasy of hitting
Oh, when you say mythic, I thought you mean like the power level of mythic as described in the mythic book. But yes, you're right.
Like, it should have those power levels for that kind of fantasy, but it clearly doesn't.
No, it's just Kung Fu as fuck, and I love it.
Right. Kung Fu as fuck.
Yeah.
KFAF.
And then Wake to Strife, which is just like the names of these feats are also super appropriate. Wake to Strife, like it's like a double entendre. A creature within your reach is prone or swimming, which I love.
Prone or swimming.
Swimming.
Right.
It's 2 actions.
Not waiting, swimming.
Blah, 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 blah. The required creature must attempt a fortitude saving throw against your class DC as an elemental water confounds their senses. If the creature is prone, they can stand as a free action. So basically, on a critical success, nothing happens. If they succeed this attack, they become sickened 1. If they fail this attack, they become sickened 2. If you have a free hand they are not larger than you, you can attempt an athletics check to grapple them. On a critical failure, as failure, so sickened 2. But if you succeed at the athletics check to grapple them, you get a critical success instead. So this is great. Like, especially if you stack it on top of the whole a stance at level 2 that allows you to trip people really well.
Right.
You trip them, you make them prone. You do this, you stand them up and sicken them and also grapple them almost automatically. Pretty fucking good. Not automatically. You need to make an athletics check, but still.
Water snake vibes.
Yeah. And the snake is a big animal that's a part of the water theming of. It's a representative animal. The mantis,
a water naga that doesn't dance.
The mantis and the snake are like the 2 major water style like animals that are represented in Chinese martial arts.
Okay, I didn't know about the mantis. All right, I keep waiting for you to get to the Fade Han schools.
Do it. Take it away.
Rather.
Take it away.
So we got Magi, we've got monks, and also within this school there are basically water genies that we saw, kind of redone through Rage of Elements. One of the reasons why I love this is I like it when Paizo creates a book, Howl of the Wild, Rage of Elements, Dark Archives, and then sprinkles future books with item spells, classes.
It's not just a one-shot idea.
Kind of like callbacks, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, wow, yeah, I was there when the original book showed up, and this is kind of like, it's a callback, is what it is. So this one in particular I like is a level 1 spell. It's called Threefold Limb, 2 actions. Attack, concentrate, manipulate, morph, and water. Range, touch, target 1 creature. It's arcane and primal. Defense AC. You temporarily transform one of your limbs into water, taking the form of ice, liquid water, or steam as you desire. I desire steam. Make a melee attack roll. Go on, I dare you. On a hit, your target will take 2d6 melee damage. The type of damage dealt and any additional effect depends on the form you choose. On a critical hit, double the damage. Ice. Your limb deals cold damage, and the target takes a negative 10-foot status penalty to its speeds until the start of your next turn. The spell gains the cold trait. Liquid water. The limb deals bludgeoning damage, and you can reposition the target up to 10 feet. That's my favorite one. You hurt him with bludgeoning, and you say, get over there, all at the same time. This is very Mortal Kombat, and I'm here for it. Steam, my favorite. The limb deals fire damage, and this is a water class, or water theming. The limb deals fire damage, and steam clings to the target, making all creatures concealed to them until the start of your next turn.
Incredibly powerful.
Or they perform an interact action to weigh the steam away, which gets into their action economy. This spell gains the fire trait. A heightened +1 damage increases by 2d6, so it scales. I'm a super fan of having one ability that does multiple things.
Especially,
I'm an even bigger fan of having one ability that does multiple things, and you can choose those, and they can be different each time you do the thing.
To fit the situation.
Yeah.
This is incredibly useful for a class like the Magus.
Yes.
Who has limited spells to prepare and choose from.
Yep.
The more versatility you can get out of one spell, the better, especially for a caster like the Magus.
That are restricted. Yep.
Or like a spell repertoire caster like the Sorcerer.
Sorcerer.
Yeah. I love it, man. That's fucking rad.
Yeah. So that was. I just wanted to call that out, and it's a level 1 spell.
Yeah.
It's not like, wow, you can do 4.
I can do this when I'm 10th level.
I've got to be at 10th level before I do this, right? Nope. Right out the gate. Get yourself a 0th level cookie or whatever the fuck that thing was from the beginning of this episode, and then follow it up with this thing, and you're already having a high power, power fantasy. At first level games don't feel like this. First level games feel like, I swing my sword. I cast magic missile.
Sounds like you need to play more interesting classes, Eric.
I'm saying, yeah. So
all right, Eric, we're getting up there in time, so I want to.
We were going to.
I know it's this again. This
Do we
book
need to talk about our sins?
Is dense. Let's end it with the Sin Man.
All right, we're gonna skip all this juicy
Sinny Winnie. Give me one more NPC blurb. Give me one more.
Oh shit. Okay. Since you fuck.
I'm doing it to you.
All right, you're gonna pick. All right. Do you want the Hobgoblin? Do you want the Naga? Apparently that's it. Do you want the Hobgoblin or the Naga?
Hobgoblin.
Damn it! I was hoping you were gonna say the Naga.
Okay. Too bad.
So Gazrin Nudargah, the Hobgoblin. This is an example of a specific NPC who is one individual from a school that is not a major school in this book. So he's the only one. There's only one Hobgoblin at this convocation. Let's see here. He's got this thing. It's called the Mutator Onyx. It's a level 3 item, alchemical consumable earth, also rare. A Mutator Onyx is a jet black alien mineral, first found in the walls of the Onyx Citadel, but is now used primarily as an alchemical teaching or experimentation tool within Oprok. Pressing the gem into a solid, unattended, inanimate object with a hardness 5 or less, transforms that object's surface into a curious syrupy liquid-like state, reducing its hardness to 0. One Mutator Onyx can transform up to a 5-foot cube. After 10 minutes, the matter reverts to its solid state, regaining its hardness. Armor's inanimate.
It's true.
Doors are inanimate.
Well, okay, so armor is not...
Weak armor doesn't have that hardness.
Let me read it real quick.
Sure.
Let me just double check. I think there
are a great number of things. Phylacteries are inanimate. Alchemical
unattended.
vials,
So
unattended, right.
The important thing is unattended. So you can't do it to someone's armor.
Right, but
they're
people
wearing.
don't sleep in their armor. I don't care how many PCs do it.
Absolutely.
So in the dead of the night, you put this motherfucker on one of their armors. You wreck him for the next day. Roll initiative, bitch. It's a good way to introduce the idea of a procky hobgoblin.
Right.
I forget what that type of warfare is about, but essentially you sneak into the encampment and you destroy their
guerrilla
warfare, and you destroy their means of participating in warfare.
Yes.
And then you sneak out, and there it is.
It does revert after 10 minutes. Just FYI.
It reverts. Okay.
Yeah. So. But everything else is awesome. I mean, like
right, but if it's broken, it's broken.
The ability to like slip behind, like the ability to go through walls and doors by just like pushing something into them, I think is super powerful.
Yeah.
And like, what level item is this?
This is a 3rd level item. It costs 10 gold pieces.
3rd level item
and
by
it's a light bulk.
By 3rd level,
you're
sneaking into the mayor's house.
Yeah.
Through a door.
It's one of those items that, regardless of what you can or can't do, it encourages player creativity. Yeah. Here, what are you going to do with it?
Right.
You tell me.
Totally.
And then you're like, I'll tell you what I'm going to do with it. I'm going to not follow your plot line anymore because I got something fun I want to do.
Dude.
It's just I want more of those kind of items. Player agency through the acquisition of fun mechanics.
Those are my favorite kind of things to do to a DM.
Yeah, otherwise you're just playing a fucking board game or the same game over and over again in a weird, nerdy Groundhog Day.
Exactly.
I'm ready to move on.
All right, so the thing we've all been waiting for.
Sahedrin Spires brings you the Rune Lord archetype. The anathemas are fucking rad and flavorful, say my notes, and my notes do not lie.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think they really nailed it by doing that. Like, this is the only way they probably could have done it that actually works within the context of the new remastered system. So
I have one focus spell and one feat. You carry the rest.
All right, cool. So let's just 10,000 foot view here. This is an archetype that was already released that they remastered or had to redo due to the remaster.
Secrets of Magic, I think this came in, and people were disappointed. Like by and large, people were disappointed.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, you're right. All right, so without comparing it to its former version, this is a really interesting archetype for the wizard. You get a lot of free spells to add to your spellbook via the curriculum and sin spells. So, okay, so a wizard gets a thesis, and they get a spell school that they study.
Yes.
The thesis allows you to basically fuck with spell slots in different interesting ways. The spell school gives you free spells to put into your spellbook every day and a focus spell.
Yes.
Okay. And every wizard gets a bonded item, and if I remember correctly, they can cast one spell from their wizard's school spell list.
With specialist spell list.
Yeah, exactly. With their free, bonded item every day. Okay.
So this feels a lot like the second edition is what I'm going to draw. I'm sure third edition had a version of this. Your specialist wizards, your fire mage, your water mage, your necromancer.
Right.
Your one school wonders.
Yeah. So that's how a normal wizard works in second edition remastered. You technically get rid of your thesis, the thing that lets you fuck with spell slots, in order to get access to this archetype. However, you end up actually just getting one of the other theses that are already written, kind of, which is the staff.
You basically Peter to pay Paul.
Basically get forced to take the staff thesis, but it's kind of better. If I'm just being honest. Again, this is a rare archetype. So basically what happens is there are two lists of spells. Remember how we talked about the wizard has one list of spells that they get extra? Well, the Rune Lord gets two. Every one of the Rune Lords gets the base curriculum spell list, which are a bunch of very generic divination-themed...
which is weird as fuck, because divination was the one thing historically the Rune Lord said, don't do that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well,
and now you get it.
I don't know if they said don't do that. Did they?
Yeah, the whole return to Sandpoint, the 7 Dooms of Sandpoint, was about that very thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they've got a Rune Lord for every sin, and which is basically
there's only 7 sins and there's 8 schools of magic.
Exactly. The 8th one is divination.
Right.
And there's no Rune Lord for that until spoilers.
Well, yeah. So the idea here is that the curriculum is that base divination magic, which makes sense given the lore that you don't want to spoil.
Lore meets crunch.
Yeah, exactly. And then you pick a second list of spells. That second list of spells gives you access to specific magics, specific spells to add to your list. So now you basically have double, if not triple, because of how dense some of these lists are, the normal amount of spells that a wizard would have access to. And each one of these sins comes with an anathema, in the
best part is this.
Yeah, so in the old system, they were attributed to the old schools of magic, and it basically had, in the old pre-master, every spell was attributed to a school of magic. So the way it worked was you picked one sin, and each sin came with 2 opposites that you just weren't allowed to cast anymore.
Yeah, that's the important part. Yep.
In this system, they give you an anathema. And for example, the anathema for envy is use your magic to cause harm with the elements or void.
Yeah.
That's your anathema. So basically, none of your magic can ever do those things. And I love that they use the anathema system, hard coding this this mechanic that we all know and love from first edition and pre-master, and baked it in with the anathema and did it in a general way. So it's easy to understand. It was elegant.
Theme. It worked in every way.
And it's elegant. I like that's a perfect word for it, honestly.
Did you say there aren't 2 schools that you can't do? I thought they kept that. There are.
Well, okay. So
each sin has 2 other sins.
Each anathema, each anathema is focused on 2 things. So gluttony says you use your magic. You can't use your magic to protect others or manipulate minds.
Yes.
Greed says you can't use your magic to affect the mind or perception rather than physical reality. So on and so forth. Wrath is one of my favorites. You can't use magic to protect or create. That's such a short, wonderful sentence that has so much dense zhuzh packed in there.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I am the Lord your God, and I am pissed.
Yeah, it's fucking awesome. So to finish talking about the class, generally speaking, 10,000 foot view, Rune Lords get they're, for whatever reason, all about spears. The idea is that you would put a sword at the end of your staff.
Yeah,
So-
you said for whatever reason, so I'm going to actually you at this point. So in the lore, way back 10,000 years in their history, everybody had to pick up a weapon and fight. That was just a thing. And wizards use staves, so they had to put a blade on the end of it.
Yes.
So think of it as a bayonet if you have to think of it as anything, but that's kind of the thought behind it. So you had to learn how to use your sword and the blade attached to it to protect yourself and your other wizards, essentially.
And you do have martial weapon proficiency for polearms.
Yeah.
But like, you're a wizard, Harry.
Yep.
You fucking suck with them, so don't use them.
Yeah.
What I like about what they did here, I'm not going to go over every option, every feat that they give you. Your spear is your staff. So really, it's just a staff with a slashing and piercing damage attached to it that you'll never use to hit anyone with. What I like about this version of the archetype is that there isn't a big focus on using your weapon. Fundamentally, they know you're a caster. You know, we have this dichotomy in Pathfinder 2nd Edition. There are casters and there are marshals. And they do not...
Never the twain shall meet.
Never the twain shall meet normally, except you, Magus. You did an okay job at it.
Except after C.
But, you know, Summoner, you tried and it sucked.
We're working on it. Come to the Patreon.
Well, yeah. I'm not going to fix that part of the Summoner. Ain't nobody got time for that. That's quite ambitious. But anyway, you basically get a staff with spells equal to your sin magic, and you get a number of points to cast that magic with equal to the highest rank spell you can cast per day. So basically it means you can cast your highest level spell one more time per day using your staff, which is pretty good. Or more, depending on lower level spells that you cast from your sin pool. So that's the base class. Anathema is anti-schools is a great idea. You basically get the staff Arcane Thesis with extra bobs and bits. There aren't that many feats relying on you hitting things with your spear, and when there are other options exist for you to skip that part of the theme if you don't like it. My last note here is I would love to play this specifically in one of your games. Because I know if I pick one of these sins, that's going to be my whole personality.
Sure.
And you're going to have a lot of fun with it. If I were to play this kind of character in any normal game, it would be a fun kind of gimmick, and I would be like, "Oh, I'm so lazy all the time, blah blah blah." And that would be it.
Yeah, those two sins that you cannot access.
Yeah.
There's an NPC for each.
Exactly.
So there's a lot of tools for GMs to play with to keep it fun. It's
Absolutely.
harder to do that with somebody who plays a fighter, and then the next guy who plays a fighter, and then the next guy who plays a fighter. Are you three different kinds of fighters? No, we just swing really big swords because we got really small dicks.
So I know that I already played a wizard in one of your games and died. Dragrid.
Oh, Dragrid was a wizard. I remember him as an alchemist, as a wizard, and as something else.
He was an alchemist, an inventor, an investigator. I did the switcheroo that they did in the book.
He went to school for years.
Yeah. I was kind of trying things. This is an exploratory part of my life.
Yep.
And then eventually I landed on Wizard, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to play something I know is fun and I haven't technically played yet in Pathfinder 2nd Edition.
Sure.
But
that's right. Timey-wimey magic.
But I think the next time I play a play a character in your game, a serious game that I'm going to be playing for a long time, you're going to let me play Rune Lord.
Okay.
Wizard.
Yeah, I don't hate the idea. The thing is, that's a high fantasy concept.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Which won't really work in a low fantasy game.
That's true.
But that's fine. It just needs to be in the right kind of game.
Yeah,
and then everybody else probably needs to build their builds accordingly. I think it's totally doable. It's not that hard. It's just specific. It's very specific.
Right.
Which is supposed to be because, that's kind of the lore.
It's a rare class archetype.
Yeah, right.
You
so
know?
you kind of build things around rareness in this system instead of using rare things to build around your games.
You get one, I kind of like to think. You get one rare thing. Everyone can get one rare thing and make themselves feel special.
I'm royalty. So I'm looking at a level 6 feat that I clipped for some reason. I don't remember what it does. So I'm going to learn with the rest of you right now.
Sick.
The Rod of Rule. Let's see. Prerequisite, you need the Rune Lore dedication. Your personal rune.
He picked the one bad feat from the whole archetype.
Your personal rune is connected more closely to your arcane bond. You gain the critical specialization effects of your arcane bonded weapon. In addition, whenever you critically hit a creature with your arcane bonded weapon, they begin to feel the pull of your sin, imposing a -2 circumstance penalty to saves against any of your curriculum or sin spells until the end of your next turn. The reason why I picked that is so many things out of this book. The Kobe Slarney thing about like reaching into your mind and extracting the knowledge, and now I know things completely that don't exist in my memory, they exist in yours. The Chiasid with the discipline of Mythosaria in Vampire the Masquerade, that's basically what that was. And it was basically vampires with fey blood and some shadow shit thrown in. It was an amazing concept, and there's probably 1.5 people who are going to get these references I'm about to do. This one right here, it feels like the Psychomachia type discipline, the Demonian that the Bali had in Vampire, where they kind of made deals with demons, and so they were able to do infernal shit, and that's kind of their jam. So this is sin magic that kind of lets you leverage that. So being able to use your sin in order to affect circumstance penalties to saves on the other person, that reeks of deal with the devil.
Right.
And it's dripping with theme. So whether or not it's mechanically superior to the other options you have is irrelevant. It establishes the link between mechanisms and theme in a way that does something. So strength and weak is only meaningful as the player and the GM wielding it.
You're never critically succeeding on a melee strike with a wizard. You're never going to do that.
Challenge accepted.
But the other 6th level spell, Sin Bladed spell, I think is just as thematically appropriate and is actually mechanically useful.
Okay, what does this one do?
So it's a 1 action, feat level 6. Requirements, you're holding a weapon in the polearm or spear group. So you've got to be holding that weapon, that symbol.
Sure.
Right? You punctuate your spell casting with a flourish of your weapon, imparting physical force to your magic. If the next spell you cast is a non-cantrip, sin, or curriculum spell that affects a single target, and you either succeed on your attack roll or the target fails its saving throw against the spell, basically if they fail, a wound in the shape of your personal rune appears on the target, dealing additional persistent bleed damage equal to the spell's rank in addition to its regular effects. To me, that is how you take this symbol of power, which is your personal sin rune, and also this spear that's this image of power, and translate it into a mechanic in the game that you're actually good at. So like if I were to take that feat, I'd be using it a lot. And I've had a lot of opportunities to be like, and then I design my own evil rune in the sky, and maybe I write it down. Maybe I like scratch it on a piece of paper and I get a cool
Maybe
patch.
Carve it into your sister.
There you go. Eric.
Sorry, people don't do that?
No, not anymore. Not
I thought we entered a new age.
Not since the 80s.
Boy, have I been voting wrong.
Yeah. So like to me, that's really thematically appropriate. I think it's very representative of what you just
What
described.
level is that?
The same level as
It's the same level. Okay.
You have to choose between the two.
Sure. I wonder if there's a challenge we can do here at Goblin Salvage Rights where we
Salvage Rights.
Goblin Salvage Rights, where we take like a level and some offerings at that level and take the substandard ones and redesign them so they bump up to the ones that you appreciate. Like the one I just read, you don't like it because it's mechanically inferior to the one that you do like. How can we bump this one so it's of equal power?
Let me rephrase a little bit of what you just said.
Sure.
I don't like it because the player will never experience its effects.
Okay. How did that get redesigned so that the player can experience the effects?
I would honestly argue that, this is crazy to me. Like from a design perspective, this is something I put in my notes. These are kind of this, I almost think they put these feats in here because the first one you described, I think is actually a remnant of what was left over in the last book.
Okay.
And this new one is a new feat I don't remember seeing. I mean, I could literally pull it off the shelf right now and check, but that, we're running out of time here. To me, this represents the old style of design and a new style of design. Okay. Like this is literally a shift, like a black and white, a compare and contrast shift change between old and new design.
Paradigm shift.
A paradigm shift of them embracing this dichotomy they intentionally or unintentionally created between marshals and casters.
Okay.
And how do I have a hard caster who does not attack things with a weapon?
Would it be game breaking if you just give them the spell attack bonus instead of the actual melee attack bonus?
It would so you would actually still be worse than attacking as a normal marshal.
Well, that's fine, but you're not a marshal.
Well, that's the point. Why would I take a feat that makes me marshal when I suck at being marshal?
Because the entire fantasy is being a martial caster, but not being a magus. And with the Rune Lord, there's a very specific fantasy that accompanies it. And I'm just wondering if a spell attack in place of a melee attack would be overpowered, or if that can be tuned to appropriate levels.
It would actually be more appropriately tuned. Mm-hmm. Like if okay, we're literally designing right now on the fly.
Sure.
I would design this class archetype so that when attacking with this specific rune weapon spear that my personal rune is on, I can use my spell attack modifier in place of my regular attack modifier for all melee attacks.
Would that break it?
No.
Okay, I thought that's what I
that
just
wouldn't.
said. That's
It would
what
actually.
I was thinking.
It wouldn't even be that good.
All right.
But it wouldn't be so bad that I would never use it.
Right.
It would be.
See, that's the thing. It doesn't have to be used in all cases.
Exactly.
It just needs to have representation. It needs to have a voice at the table, because it can't just be in a picture of your character.
Yes.
So something, anything.
And the other thing, Eric, is like my issue with this feat specifically is that it's at this level. The level is incredibly important. 6th level feats. 6th level, again, another nugget for you designers, is a turning point in player power.
2, 4, 6. Yeah, it is. Yep.
6 is where fighters get extra feats, extra actions to raise shield for free or shield block for free. 6th level is where other marshals get access to attack of opportunity.
You get class coupons.
It's a huge 5th and 6th level are huge jumps in player power. So to have something this comically weak, especially right next to a feat that's thematically
was designed
cool
at the same time and it's superior
and just more useful. We'll see use more often. It's just like, how did this make it into the book?
Yeah. It almost feels rushed, maybe.
I don't know.
I want to get your thoughts on this reaction they have, because this is the other one that I really liked in the Rune Lord bit. It's under the Thessalonian magic section. And let's see.
Oh, it's a reaction spell?
It's a reaction
cutting
spell.
eye?
It's cutting eye.
Yeah, baby.
So it's a level 1 focus spell, cutting eye reaction. The sin is specifically envy. The trigger is you are the target of an attack or must attempt a saving throw against a spell. The requirement is you are aware of the attack or spell. Your eyes open enviously, stealing the power of an opponent for yourself. You're not off guard to the attacker or spellcaster until the beginning of your next turn. In fact, you gain a +2 circumstance bonus to your AC against the triggering attack, or a +2 circumstance bonus to the triggering save. So it's sort of like whack, 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 whack. I am not off guard.
Eric, this focus spell is so powerful. I would probably... It makes me...
Is it overtuned?
It makes me want to take envy just for this focus spell.
Okay, all right. It seemed nice and powerful, and it's level 1, which is weird.
Well, it's a focus
and the
spell.
level 6 one I just did was clearly not as powerful as you wanted, and it was a higher level. So there's something clearly going on with...
Dude, okay, so let's just put this in context. A +2 to any save... That's strong.
Makes a difference between a failure and a critical failure.
If this was literally just +2 to any save, I'd still be like, man, that's fucking tempting. That's really tempting. But then Also, I want to point out there's no probability of failure here. Whenever we're thinking about a bonus or whenever thinking about ability,
of course,
it's always more powerful when there's no probability of it failing. Right. Okay. So this just happens. So
use it 10 times, it triggers 10 times.
In the case of a martial attack and a weapon attack, if you're off guard doing an attack and you use this, you have an effective +4 bonus to your AC. Because without this, you would have had -2 to your AC. So your AC would have gone from 10 to 8. So your opponent would be attacking an 8. But if you use this, your AC goes from 8 to 12, which is an effective +4 bonus, which is unheard of.
Right, but they also
anywhere
have
in the game.
shit for hit points. So the idea of being a spellcaster in melee range, which is the fantasy for this particular archetype, you need stuff like this to even make it viable at the table, so I don't begrudge it in this specific case.
I just want to point out, it does not specify melee range, just FYI.
Oh, so you can shoot somebody with a bow?
Yeah. So if you get shot with a bow, you can still do it. But that doesn't take away from your point.
Sure.
I still
if
think
they can use the bow in an off-guard situation?
Yeah, there's plenty of ways to shoot someone if they're off guard. I mean, that happens all the time in our Kingmaker game. We need to use snagging strike, and she shoots, and it's awesome.
Yeah. But the idea of like just being a melee spellcaster that goes, no, dude. In fact, give me.
It fucks over like every rogue who tries to do a flanking attack. Like I love it. It's very strong, but like also it's a rare class. So you can have things that are just a little overtuned here. If this were on a regular class, it would probably only be +1.
Right. Yeah. And if any NPCs are getting close enough to be able to encounter your wizard and the other players around the table aren't preventing it, that's a whole other conversation right there.
Actually, I'd wager, let me correct myself. I'd wager if this was a regular focus spell for like a cleric, it would be the ability would read, you ignore off guard, period. And you get a +1 save to your to all saves.
Nice.
So you don't get a +2 circumstance bonus to AC. Also circumstance bonus instead of status bonus. Is that what I read? Yeah. Yes. Circumstance bonuses, I'm beginning to realize, are more powerful than status bonuses. They're far rarer, especially when it comes to spellcasting. So that's an important thing to keep in mind. This will stack with a bard's bonus to AC and stuff like that. Stacks. And so if this were like a cleric focus spell, it would probably just read, you're no longer off guard until the beginning of your next turn or whatever. And you get a +1 bonus instead of a +2 bonus to your saves. Yeah. I can maybe see a +2, but still. These are all really good. Some are better than others though.
Yeah. So much in this book, and that's all I really want to talk about tonight. There are things we did not cover.
Absolutely.
Just a quick list.
We're trying to keep this under 2 hours.
Under 5 hours, yeah.
Under 5 hours.
There are backgrounds that are available now. Yeah. There's like a dozen of them. There are gazetteers for a specific region of the setting that deals in a century plus of demon destroyed wastelands.
Yes.
And that's the sort of thing that most settings have something resembling in, so you can port the shit out of this. You get gazetteers, you get NPCs, you get items, spells, feats, you get everything in this book. So you can actually just fuel an entire, I don't want to say like campaign, level 1 through 20, maybe not that big and grandiose, but you can definitely get the scale of the feel of your game to feel like it's encompassing an entire novel. Even though this book is basically focused on casters.
Yeah.
It's not focused on rogues or fighters or monks or, the stupid fucking guys with the skinny swords that don't do anything.
We have fucking magus and monk feats.
And yet. There's a lot of and yet moments in this book. That's sort of like the hidden genius of this book. It was so subtle, it was nice.
I completely agree.
That's everything I've got if we don't want to jump into a bunch of art.
I think we've run out of time, Eric.
Did we? Is it 4 hours already?
It's 4 hours already.
All right.
The art's great. We love it.
All I have to say at this point is Kobe Slarney.
Kobe Slarney, keep it weird.
Kobe Slarney, keep it Kobe Slarney.
Keep it Kobe Slarney.
As they say in the first world.
Keep it Kobe Slarney.
Are they all from Wisconsin? And Minnesota? I think Faye come from Minnesota.